welcome once again to the 2015 United States Curling National Championships from Wing Stadium in Kalamazoo, Michigan. My name is Joe Calabrese. Alongside me is Brian Anderson. We'll be joined today by Jerry Gertz from Curling Zone to call our feature matchup between Team Craig Brown versus Team Corbett. Let's meet the teams.
Hi, I'm Craig, skipper Team Brown. Lead Sean Baton. Second, Jared Zezel. Third, Croy Nurnberger. Alternate, Alex Leichter.
Hello, my name is Brandon Corbett. I'm the skip of Team Corbett. My lead is Jared Whittish. My second is Paul Little. My vice is Derek Corbett, and our alternate is Mark Hartman.
So, Jerry, it's a matchup between one of the high-performance teams and an up-and-coming team out of my home club in Rochester, New York. Corbett.
Yeah, we see a fair bit of these guys.
Sorry, we're switching microphones. So for some reason, we have one that's just died on us. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, we see a fair bit of these guys in the Ontario Curling Tour, and they had a pretty good season up north of the border this year. Brandon, the skip, I believe, lives in Hamilton, Ontario. He went to McMaster, and I believe he's doing some work there as a I'm not sure what exactly his role is, but he's since graduated and
lives up there now. Yep.
He won an event in St. Thomas, Ontario, beating Joe Franz in the quarterfinals. One of the teams that was in the Ontario Provincial Championships. And of course, he qualified in a couple of events in Ontario as well, I believe.
Yeah, their world rank right now is 106.
Not bad for a team that they've really been grinding it out on the smaller tour events, and I think you're seeing the improvement in this squad over the last few years. And of course, one of their players from last season kind of got scooped from them, and
yeah, that's right.
They still managed to put together a good, strong season.
Yeah, and then they got off to a hot start here in this week. Started out 2-0, lost a heartbreaker last night in a sort of controversial fashion, but we'll kind of maybe cover that a little bit later. But let's talk a little bit about Team Brown. One of the high-performance team off to a really hot start, 3-0 so far, and really firing on all cylinders.
You could almost argue that this Brown team has maybe been the more consistent of the high-performance teams all year. Constantly reaching the playoffs. I think if there's one Achilles heel for Brown, it's their performance on Sunday. I think they've struggled to win many playoff games, but made a ton of quarterfinals appearances, and that's where, had they won a few more games on Sunday, they could have really rocketed up the point standings.
Yeah, they started out this week. Again, they're 3-0. They started out this week pretty much blowing out the other high-performance team 10-3. Heath McCormick, then racked up a win against Paul Pustovar and Brady Clark. So they're coming into this this game hot. So lots of rocks in play here. Craig Brown has the hammer. And unfortunately now no protection there for Corbett.
This red rock, top of the 4-foot here. Looks like Brown's going to try and get the hit and roll.
I think they're drawn open here.
Drawn open side?
Yeah, they're drawn open side.
Oh, okay, there we go, yeah.
Yep. Brown's got the red rocks, and Corbett's got the yellows.
Yeah, if they get this one T-line or deeper, there won't be an easy double there, or a double that won't jam, or have the possibility of jamming.
So, a little high in the house, but Corbett's going to try to just unlock this rock in the 4-foot. He's sitting second right now.
This is a situation. He could look at something a little different, depending on what he throws here. I didn't quite hear the call. If he nose hits this, and that may be the call, that would be a great shot here, because he'd sit shot and second shot, and there would be no double there.
Hard. Real hard. Yep, hard. No roll.
Just over rolls this a little bit.
Opens up what is now shot stone.
Just a little bit on the wrong side there. I think he would have been better off to hit and roll the other way.
Would have made a double a little more difficult. But they're not really playing that now. It looks like they're just going to try to hit and roll on top of Corbett Stone.
Yep.
I like this call from Brown. A nice and patient call here.
Hard. Hard. Hurry.
These kinds of teams, you can't give them free runs at doubles
That's
and
good,
triples
Saz.
for the entire end here. So
That's pretty nice right there.
yeah, that even though Brown only sitting 1, it looks like here, he's got 3 stones that are in great positions.
Okay. Normal. Whoa. Whoa. Stay close. Whoa. No. No. Right off. Yes. Yes. Whoa. Whoa. Very good. Stop.
Nose hit there. Sitting first and third, I believe, at this point. Yep.
That's not bad either, Croy. Nose isn't bad either, but let's try and sit up on top. Normal. Yep.
So Croy Nurnberger here. Looking to make a play on that rock that was just thrown there by
Close. Yep.
Derek Corbett.
Yep. Hard. Hard. Hurry.
Makes the double.
Not quite
Nicely
what he's
done.
looking for. I think he was looking to hit and make the actual roll in that spot, sit frozen, another one in line. Corbett should be able to make the double here. These two go pretty naturally.
Yep. Hard. Hard. Yep. Come on. Yep. Hard. Yes. Hard. Whoa. Hard. Whoa. Hard. Hard.
Derek Corbett is a left-hander.
Whoa. Nice, Derek.
Makes the double. Peels off the one in the back.
Sweet, boys. Normal.
Craig's going to want to keep the separation here between the stones once this takeout's made.
It's been a while since these two teams have played each other.
Yep. Yep.
At skip at least, at skip position at least.
Yep. Whoa.
The Lafroig
Yep.
Scotch Open, Corbett won
Yep.
8-4 in 2011, December 2011.
Good swing.
Yeah, the history between these teams is a little different.
Got curls really hard there.
Yeah, Alex Leichter skipping the team last year, I believe, in Philadelphia.
And I think the year before, Derek may have been part of one of the junior teams.
Want to roll over. Almost half under that red one's okay.
Yeah, he played with was it Steven Dropkin for
Yeah, I think so.
for a bit of time there.
So Brandon would surely like to hit this in a spot where he groups these stones together a little bit.
Whoa. Yep. Whoa.
He's
Whoa.
being so
Whoa.
so even in the house. It's going to be pretty difficult.
Whoa. Hard roll. Yep. Roll it. Yep. Roll it. Yep. Roll it. Roll it. Oh, hard. Hard. Hard roll. You can roll right behind it. It's good. Nice shot.
Oh, that's a real nice shot.
Nice, Brad.
That's a beauty.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's perfect, Brad. Good.
That's how we teach them in Rochester.
Yes, it does.
For Brown, this is going to be a tough spot to try and get
Soft with the out
get
turn,
two now.
or soft with the in turn.
Yeah, to remove that stone, he's almost surely going to lose the object stone if he runs his own in.
The shot here for Brown might actually be T-line draw around
Yeah.
it all, trying to quarter bury. If you do over curl, you know you may have a chance to chip it, but you know get it a quarter buried, and then try and get your two that way. And you
Yeah.
use it as a corner guard almost.
I don't think that's the line for this shot,
Like board.
for the shot you're describing. Sounds like they're playing board, try to remove the stone sort of pick it out, roll their shooter away. Gonna have to hit it almost as much as he can see.
So one thing about a draw in this spot, you could overcurl and rub the red stone, and open up the yellow. You could overcurl, catch the yellow, or you could
Close.
get around it and lie shot behind.
Close. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Whoa.
Precise shot here. Looks
Yep.
pretty good.
Yep. Roll it.
Oh, well
Beauty
done.
shot by Craig Brown. Rolls it across.
Gonna line up the double here.
Really nice weight control there from Craig. It's one
Yeah.
thing you'll notice on this ice versus your regular curling club ice at home is that weight control is probably the most important thing. If you're looking for hack weight and you throw board weight, about 6 to 10 feet more, you'll lose probably 6 inches of curl.
Yeah.
And it can make you look foolish out there. Whereas in the curling club, a lot of times those weights will be pretty close to the same amount of curl. It's just a matter of hitting the broom right and throwing it close to the weight. That's probably the biggest difference between arena ice and club ice at the end of the day.
So Brandon looking to play the double.
Close. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Hard. Whoa. Yes. 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 Hard. Hard.
Looks
hard.
pretty good
Go.
here.
Go.
Thin double.
Will he move it enough?
Just needed to hit it a little bit thinner. Real close.
Yeah. Going to be a free draw to the full 12-foot for a deuce here for Craig Brown.
Yeah, and when we talk about arena ice, we're talking about the professionalized arena ice that we have here in the was it K-Wings Center here in Kalamazoo. Wings Stadium, that's right. Had a couple of the club curlers from here in Kalamazoo I was talking to who got a chance to throw it on the ice, and they said it was like heaven out there.
Yeah, can't imagine. Yeah, they set up on the auxiliary rink over here some rings to shoot for the learn to curl. I would guess it's slightly different than what we're seeing here.
Yep.
This has got to go.
Yep. 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 Good sweep.
Good enough. So
Great shot set in.
Craig Brown gets his 2 here in the first end. It's going to take a 2-0 lead, and Corbett will have the hammer going into the second. I want to thanks have to go out to the generosity of the curling community because of you, this web stream is being brought to you live all week. At this time, I want to extend a special message to Bill Peskoff of the Plainfield Curling Club and Russ Lemke of the Cape Cod Curling Club, who combined contributed more than half of the funds needed to ensure that we're able to watch these 2015 Curling Nationals live. Thanks so much. Makes a big difference. People at home, family members, curling fans, enthusiasts. It's a growing community, and we're happy to bring these events to you live. So I'm going to see Corbett now with his first chance with the hammer here in the second end. Sure, Brownie will probably bring it right to the top 4.
Five.
So
Five.
taking a quick peek around the rink here, we'll give you some updates as we can get them in. Schuster is playing Pustovar on sheet A. Looks like Pustovar took a single in the first. Brady Clark is playing Corey Dropkin over here on sheet B. Dropkin took one in the first with the hammer. Over on sheet D, Gemmel versus Lupchuk. They haven't posted a score because the end isn't over yet. Looks like Josh Barr and Mark are surveying a pile of rocks in the 4-foot to see what they can do. Then over on sheet E, you've got McCormick and Myers. That end is first end is still underway, so give you some scoring updates as they happen, and of course on the sidebar you'll see the curling zone updates as they go live.
Fast, Jared.
So corner guard played pretty tight.
Yeah, I got about half the photos updated on the site, so we're getting closer to having live updates for all our fans out there. So you can see what everybody looks like outside of the actual moving pictures that Joe and Brian are able to provide here. Not sure if we had a shot of Jared Whittish though.
He might be part of the Blue Man group yet.
Yeah, I think he's been ducking the camera too. I'm not even sure Rich Harmer was able to get a photo of him.
He's sort of the mystery man at our curling club. I didn't even know he was there until about 3 weeks ago when he asked for a sub for a league night. I'm like, wait a minute. Guy's a pretty good curler.
Going to nationals.
Yeah, going to nationals. Had no idea. And they play a different night than we do, so.
Close. Yep. Hard. 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 Real hard. Whoa. Oh, you're nosing. Nosing. Nosing is fine. Okay, that's good. It's fine, Jared.
Move the brown rock off the center line.
We can also do that if you want.
It's pretty naturally set up for a double,
Normal.
but I think they're just going to rip the 1 and the 12.
Jared Zezel's been a bit in flux the last year or so. Curled last season with John Schuster in the 2014 Olympic team, and then actually started the year with the other high performance team with Chris Plies and Colin Hoffman and Joe Polo. And you saw a mid-season trade. Something you don't see happen too often in curling, where Heath McCormick went from the Brown McCormick team to over to the other squad, and in exchange for Jared Zezel. So
yeah, I think that worked out pretty well for both teams as trades go. I think we got two of our best skips leading the high performance teams now.
Yeah, the performances since that point have definitely been more consistent, and it's worked out well for both players.
Yep. Hard. 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 Real hard. Hard, 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 hard.
It's something that's a little different. You're not likely going to see that in regular teams, but with the high performance team, they've got the opportunity to kind of move lineups around, experiment, try and figure out who fits best where, and I like what I see out of both these teams thus far. The performances they've had, and you get to see a couple players who get some chances that they might not otherwise have. Like a player like Alex Leichter. I think he surprised a few people at the combine, and I think one of his talents is his sweeping ability. I think it really shines through, and he's got he's got an opportunity that I think. With self-selection, he might not have been able to achieve.
Yeah, this team, I think, has 3 of the best sweepers, I think, in the U.S. The power and that they seem to be able to generate is pretty solid.
Good sweep, boys. Nice shot, Zez.
Yeah, him and Zezel together are a good tandem, and of course, Sean Baton, who's currently on the bench for this game. Him and Alex have been switching in and out for the games this weekend. Keeps the front end fresh as well.
Yeah.
When you're playing 9 games in a round robin, 2 games a day, and it can be a grind out here. It seems like an easy kind of pace, but these guys are going full bore on their sweeping, and I personally, I'm a big fan of the 5-player squads. There's a few teams that have really started to utilize it on the World Curling Tour, and a team like Greg Balson out of Ontario, and they do a full front end rotation.
Yeah, I sort of see it as like an evolution in the game, in that 5-person teams that know their roles, I think, can be a very healthy thing for a team.
That's the key to it. You either need to be coach driven, where the decision is out of the hands of the players, or you need a mature group of players who are able to say, I'm struggling right now, I'm going to sit on the bench, or a set rotation where there's no change whether you're into a playoff game. If it's your turn, it's your turn, and you move around the lineup. So
I'd almost like to see at some point, as the evolution continues, is what I would consider to be the closer. Somebody that you bring in whose specialty is just exploding rocks. I mean,
you know what? The Russians actually were working on something like that.
Yeah.
The fifth player that they had on the bench was a pure hitter.
Yeah.
Like he was a guy who could go out and blow up everything. And
I mean, clearly you want to have all the skills, no doubt, and you're going to be at a disadvantage if you don't have that. But I think there are times when there might be a reason to do that sort of thing. You get out to a big lead, and you're going to be hitting, and
it works for a developing team.
Yeah.
When you're a team at the top of the rung, you need to have players who have the skill sets to do everything.
Right.
Essentially you want players who could fit as a vice or skip on any team, skill set wise, at second as well.
Right.
Who can throw the big weight and blow things up. Whereas with the Russian program, it's something that they're still teaching skill development with a lot of these teams, and trying to find out which guys have good draw weight and which guys have good hitting weight. The thing about hitting and peels is you can teach that skill a lot quicker than you can teach draw weight. So if you have if you've got a guy who's good at drawing and you've got a guy good at hitting, you put the drawer in there at the beginning of the game. You try and get some points and get a lead. You can go to the bullpen and
that's right.
Call in the
That's
call
what
in the
I want to
closer.
see. I want to see somebody use that as a coach. I'll bring in my lefty.
Whoa, you got room.
Yeah, I think it has some. I think there's some potential for it.
Close. You got room.
It does have a little bit of a limited
Yep.
reach at this point. I think.
Yeah. I would agree. I agree. It's definitely something you wouldn't use all the time.
Right in my brush.
It was a nice double there earlier by Corbett Rink. Just wanted to kind of update on the game we're watching. Just we're talking about the development of the fifth man. A good draw around there by Croy.
This is real good. This is good too. Okay.
Again, line here is really where it's important. You want to try and be on the inside of that stone so that corner freeze to it. Possibly corner freeze still be shot, but if not, at least create a good angle that they can come down and make a play on it on the next shot.
Yeah, right now the angles are not in the Corbett's favor.
Just one last thing on the fifth man. This is something I'm not sure a lot of teams necessarily realize, but if you've got a fifth man you add to the lineup who's a regular part of the lineup, you can end up playing 4 more events without actually adding more games to your personal schedule.
Right.
So for teams chasing points on the order of merit, trying to rank higher and compete, for the world selection spot, it's a great way to be able to add more events to your schedule.
Right. And I think we saw some teams sort of take advantage of that this year. I think Brady Clark's a good example of that. If I remember, he had some help early in the season, some events, and now for this event, Phil Tilker's not playing this event. Nick Myers is in. It was sort of a last-minute substitution, but
yeah, I think Phil had some work conflicts.
Yep.
Couldn't commit quite the entire week to time off, and so for that situation, Nick Myers jumps in. Pretty solid replacement at the end of the day for Brady. Definitely quieter out there, though.
Yeah. Don't hear quite as much chatter.
Hey, Phil, we love you. If you're listening in.
Yep.
That is going to be our alternate game here. So we'll check in on that from time to time. Oh, what a great shot by Craig. It's the Clark Dropkin game. Brady really needing to get on the win side. He's going to be our guest commentator for the next game. And that's always a fun time having Brady in the booth.
You guys okay with this? We could also play the slash in, but
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brady Clark and the game that he brings. I think his game calling is evolving, and he's really learning a lot as he's played more of these bigger teams. But for the longest time, he's been one of the best shot makers in this country, I'd suggest.
Yeah, and I think, living out in the Seattle area, he's got a good pool of people to choose from, but It's sort of the game has evolved. We're picking people off of curling clubs from all across the country. He's opening up
Line's good.
the opportunities for him to kind of pull from other players.
6.
I think they'll be good for him.
Yeah, I don't think he ended up. I think he declined the opportunity to go to the combine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But
Every inch counts. Come on.
I
Come on,
believe
let's go.
had he gone, he probably would have been on
Coming.
throwing last rocks for one of these teams,
Keep it right on going.
just based on his skill set.
Keep it right on going. All right. That's fine, Brandon.
Yeah, really the biggest thing for Brady is, I think he's got some back issues, and performance-wise, his performance is always better when he's feeling good. So, meanwhile, that draw comes up short for Corbett, and this leaves Brown an opportunity to sit 4. Pretty well covered, not leaving
Just full eight, couple
Brandon
inches
much.
off the center. Yeah, like probably 6 inches off the center line. And yeah, I think just full eight's perfect.
So Craig looking to go in the 8-foot here, kind of cutting off that out-turn draw path.
Line's good.
Really, a key spot here to make it tough on Corbett.
Line's good. Top 8.
You really want to keep this stone in a good position.
Looks pretty close.
Don't go deep here. You're better off being a halfway guard than you are being T-line back of the 4-foot.
Just full 8.
It looks like the path here is really nice.
Yep.
So well judged here by the sweepers.
That's good sweep, boys. Good judge.
Looks like they're going to draw in.
Hair more curl would have been great there just to make Corbett have to go wide, but that's still a bit of a narrow port to have to get through to get to the 4-foot. Have to be pretty precise here.
Yep.
Same thing. I'll give you guys 5 feet more.
And you can see the updates of the scoreboard on your left. Gemmel out to a big lead, taking 4 in the first.
Look at that, Myers 2-0 over McCormick. Junior champions off to a quick start there. And the wily veteran, Paul Pustavar, with the lead on John Schuster.
Wiley, I like that. That's a good word for him.
No, you can't. No. Coming. It's coming.
They aren't touching this. This needs to curl a ton. They are all over the brownstone.
Yeah, just a little too much weight here from Brandon Corbett.
They're going to give up, steal a 3. That's going to give Brown a 5-0 lead after 2. Are you a fan of curling? Do you want to know more about the sport of curling in the United States and receive regular updates about events and news from the curling world? Consider joining our USA Curling Fan Club. The Fan Club provides you with all the latest news releases as well as a subscription to the U.S. Curling News. Visit the website www.usacurl.org today to learn more. So, tough result there for Corbett. They really didn't execute, I would say, any of the shots that they had intended, and that's how you give up a steal of 3, that's for sure. Brownie in total control right now. But, it's real early in this game. Corbett can get a deuce, kind of claw his way back into this over time.
A little hot.
How much?
Yeah, it's quite the big lead to come back from. Like Joe's saying though, if you can 2-1 your way back into this, by what we mean by that is score 2, force a single, score 2, force a single. You'll find yourself back in this game, into the later ends.
But I never want to be down 5 to somebody like Craig Brown, one of the most patient skips ever. He's perfectly happy hitting his way through this game. Just maintaining that lead and
It's good.
picking up a point here or there.
1, 2. Okay.
Yeah, one of the discussions we do get into from time to time in curling games is the 8 ends versus 10 ends game,
2 on its own then.
length of game.
Yeah.
And I done some research on this, and the difference between coming back from a 2-point or 3-point deficit after the first end and an 8 or 10 end is less than 0.5%, less than 0.5%. So in reality, you're not looking at a big difference between 8 end games and 10 end games. Typically, the team who gets ahead will win. I believe scoring 2 in the first, and you're about 75% or so chance to win the game. Scoring 3, you're up into like the 86% range to win the game overall. And when you're looking at the difference between an 8 end game and a 10 end game, the chance of coming back in a 10 end game was less than 0.5% better, which was surprising at the end of the day. But some of the other research that has been done on this, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Palmer writes Curling with Math. And what he's looked at is when does the gap start in the change in percentages and chance of coming back, or the win rate that we call it. And it's about it starts to happen with about 5 ends remaining. So down to with 5 ends remaining, you have a much better chance than with 4 ends remaining.
Okay, that's fine.
And there,
That's fine right there.
a much better chance with 3 ends remaining, and so on and so on. Whereas with 6 ends remaining, 7 ends remaining, 8 ends remaining,
Quarter.
the chance of coming back across all those ends is very similar.
Right.
So so the spread is definitely to that point. So if the suggestion was to go from 8 ends to 6 ends,
Right.
I think the math would start to say no. That is actually, you would see a pretty significant
Good throw.
difference there.
Right.
I thought he was going to curl.
Whereas
for
in
him.
an
Based
8
on the
versus
way
10,
his
I don't
double
think
curled.
it's important enough to be the reason
Right.
choosing.
So the thought
10 or
process
8.
around this is, sort of TV and, whether or not it makes sense to kind of shorten the game to make it more TV acceptable, and, 8 end games, sort of fit into a more natural, 2-hour time slot, two and a half hour time slot, rather than maybe a 3-hour time slot. It's particularly, we've had a few extra end games here, so we've gone 3+ hours on some of these games.
Yeah, it's if you're looking at 10 ends, you're probably a 3:15 time slot for TV, and 8 end games are usually fit in 2.5 hours pretty cleanly. And that's definitely part of it. You look at the game, and we've got our our millennial generation.
Yep.
With a little bit of too much too many other things to do at the same time, and short attention span, and just the way people consume media and everything nowadays. It's there's a lot more immediacy to stuff.
And I guess the other side of the argument is curling, has some similarities to baseball, and kind of like, baseball has no real time limit. It's just, play as many as you need to get through a 9-inning game. I wouldn't suggest that curling needs to go that far. That would be pretty ridiculous. But, that we have a time limit, and the games seem to stay under that time limit. Maybe we need to shorten the time limit. That might be something to think about.
Yeah, that's a possibility. They've now, with the way the sport is, we use thinking time. And for anybody listening that is curious about that, it's the time the rocks are not traveling is the time that's recorded and used on a team's clock. So, for example, I believe they start with something like 36 minutes.
38, I think.
38 minutes.
The limit for this event.
And so when
Clean.
they're talking about shots, when they're trying to make decisions and so on, the clock is running. It doesn't penalize teams like the old system did for the style of play. So in the past, a team would throw a lot of draws, would use up more clock time, because a draw is going to take about 30 seconds from delivery to stop, whereas a hit can take as little as 10 to 15 seconds. So if you're playing a draw game, you're really going to be hurting yourself. And I think that's one of the changes in the game over the last 5 years or so that's I think elevated the style of play. You don't see teams purposely waste an end anymore just for the heck of it.
Right. And I think that teams were sort of banking time.
Yeah.
Particularly the last couple nationals here, that I've seen. I've seen some of that, and that's not necessary anymore. You know, the clocks don't look like sort of your traditional time clocks anymore. I mean, there's time when nobody's clock is running.
Third.
Yeah, essentially, anytime a rock is traveling down the sheet, there's no clocks running.
Yep.
That's probably the easiest way to look at it.
Yep.
And now, right now, we're in the middle of a brown shot. Now the clock is stopped as the rock crosses the tee line.
Looking for the double peel, misses everything.
Okay.
And Corbett with an opportunity with 3 rocks remaining to try to tuck something under one of these guards. He's going to play
What's
kind of a hit and roll.
Forward. Okay.
Going to have to make a really nice roll here. He's choosing to play it underneath the longer corner guard, which I think is the right move. Make the run back as difficult as possible.
Yeah, the key here is the hit and roll under the guard. They're not really worried about the double.
Whoa. Yep. Close. Whoa. Yep. Yes. Yes. Oh.
If they get both, that's a great bonus at the end of the day.
Little panic here. They might have swept it to nose.
Curl up. Come on. Curl up. Roll it. Anything you got. That's all right. Right. Fine, Derek. That's fine.
So they now have a rock in the ring, sitting second, but
Just normal.
should be pretty easy to
I'd
get
like
rid
sit
of.
here, but
2 brownstones behind the tee line, but we are getting late in the end, and that is the only issue here. Corbett with only 2 stones
it's all
left. Hoping to record a deuce here.
just a touch more, Croy.
What?
Normal. I'm not going to throw it hard, but I'm going to throw it normal. 'Cause this is a spot where in the first end, a lot of rocks curled.
So looking at the scoreboard, McCormick answers back. Myers deuce with one of his own. Now after 2, it's tied.
Pustavar
Yep.
steals the point there.
Giving Schuster all he can handle after 2.
Yep.
Whoa.
Brown looking for the hit and roll here.
Wants to stay if he can.
Whoa, leave it. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Shot.
Works at the end of the day. Another counter on the outside. Now Corbett can't. There's no double here to work towards a blank. So
So trying to decide which one they want to draw under.
Right here. Yep. I think that's what you gotta do. Yep. Early here, right? Look. Yeah. I think my first ice is good though. Okay. Yeah. We go.
So Brandon's going to have to sink one around this guard and
Well, we
give
could
himself a
hit
shot
right
at
now,
2.
Paul. We have to roll perfect. I don't want to draw the red rocks behind the button. I mean, they're gonna have to guard it, or if they don't guard it, they're gonna have to play on ours. We'll probably be left. I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but yeah.
Front end trying to talk him into playing the hit and roll on the one on the back 4. Brandon having nothing of that. Gonna draw around this for sure.
always easier to draw to a spot than hit and roll to a spot. And with 3 brownstones in there, I think you got to take this chance now. Just getting a single point is really not good enough right now. So draw around here. You're going to force Brown into, if you make a good one here, you'll force Brown into a bit of a decision. He can either try and draw a lie 2 somewhere or try and follow this down and pick it out. But at the same time might leave a double for Corbett to get his 2. So
Nice draw there.
really nicely thrown stone. So now for Brown, he doesn't have a lot of room to lie 2 in the 4
How much
foot
you got?
and not leave a double. So the corner freeze is a possibility here.
I think that's the call.
Well, we can either kind of come to it, or we can just throw one right here.
Very well thought
If
out
I'm
process
just
there
biting
by Corbett on how to try and generate a deuce on his last 2.
Yeah.
And then, of course, executed well to go with it.
Yeah, he's giving himself a chance here.
Huh? boys.
So easy to leave a path one way or the other over
Yeah.
the guard.
It's not real easy to make this and sit too,
Yeah,
though,
I
either.
agree.
And you gotta almost play it to bump it a couple feet. Let's do that.
I think we do play a little bit.
Yeah, bump it to here. So he just held it here. If I'm bumping it a foot, 18 inches. If we're tight, it doesn't matter if we're heavy. They can sweep it. Right there, throw tee out of hand.
Yeah.
So when Craig says tee out of hand there, he wants to make sure that when he releases it and with no sweeping,
We'll throw a tee out of hand.
it'll go to the tee line.
Bump it up.
So then the sweepers are going to be used to take it another, 2, 3, 4 feet if the line is good
tight to the
to make the
guard.
bump.
Especially if we're tight to the guard.
So
we're gonna have to sweep
we're
it
in the
all the way into it.
side here. We're looking at Clark and Dropkin. Dropkin throwing his,
All right, I'll try and
I
give you
believe,
tee.
his final stone of the end. Brady will have the hammer. Not even sure who's shot there. There's such a pile of rocks. Dropkin is shot rock. Looks like Brady is second and third.
Close. Whoa. Whoa. Close though. Close.
Brady surveying the situation,
Close.
see if he
Yep.
can somehow
Yep. Yeah.
move that Dropkin stone in.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Looks like Brownie's
Whoa,
stone
whoa.
here picked.
Whoa. Whoa.
To
Caught
get a
that.
guard out of it. Oh, a little spin back, pretty good. Some alert sweeping there.
Yeah, I think they were pretty happy with the stone coming around the corner, and then it made a late move. Whether it was just a slight pick or it just picked up the curl. Sometimes it's hard to tell between that whether it actually picks or just catches a bit of fresh ice and
Gotta let this roll up a little bit to start.
and curls a little extra hard.
So Brady Clark's hammers away first out of the two sheets. He's looking to make a raise on Dropkin stone. Push it back into his own, then remove the Dropkin stone, maybe get a deuce out of it.
Curl!
Just clips. I don't think he got it for a shot. I think Dropkin's going to steal one more.
What?
Yep.
One yellow there on the Clark Dropkin game. Now 3-0.
So here's the hammer over here for Brandon Corbett. Needs to tap and remove a stone to get his deuce. It's got to walk in, even for a piece.
He just overthrew this.
Oh, and a steal of one for Brown. Brown now leads 6-0 after 3. So if you're enjoying the webcast, we want to make this the most interactive webcast imaginable. So all you got to do to help us with that is use the hashtag 2015Nats or post on our Facebook page, 12th End Sports Network's Facebook page. And you can get your tweet or Facebook post read on the air. Like Alex Carlson. We've got some chair nappers today during our break. So Alex making sure everything's documented. And Ian Strong just met Nina Roth. And they all have the same dreams, talking about her new team. So that's good. It seems like Nina's team's all on the same page. So if you want your tweet read on the air, all you got to do is use that hashtag, 2015Nats. Be clever. The more clever you are, the more likely it is that we will post it for you. Yeah, we love to see pictures also, and anything that can improve the webcast. If you have a question for Jerry while he's here in the booth, you want him to explain stats, I'm sure he would love to do that all day long. But we've done that once. I don't know if you picked up on that. Sean tried to do it. He kind of mangled his way through that one, but I think he did a pretty good job at the end of the day.
Sean does a good job, but he doesn't generally do much of anything with grace.
But I appreciate
force.
Sean's
Brute
work
force.
with us, not only here but in Blaine. He does a really good job.
It's
But the stats thing is definitely something that has to be explained. And we have the right person here to do it. So you can see Jared's picture not here, but his percentage is pretty high at 98%.
Yeah, Jared throwing a good game.
Until that stone, unfortunately, which didn't make it over the hog.
Yeah, so that will be a 0.
Yeah.
So when you look at the numbers at the bottom, if Brian can just leave those stats sitting up there, the percent is the score at the end of the day, and it's factored into degree of difficulty, which 0 to 5, and it's based on the description of the shot. So every shot has different components to it: run back, a round guard component, port, any kind of different pieces of the shots are given a base degree of difficulty behind the scenes, and they're set up and hard-coded into the system. And then from there, so the stats people are checking off the boxes, kind of describing the shots, and that's also part of what you see on the scoreboard with the shot-by-shot descriptions, where you can follow along, and if you're not able to watch the webcast, you can kind of see the description of every shot. So you can kind of see, who threw what through at the end. From there, we then also mark sweeping. It's a separate stat that's not part of the shooting percentage, but what that is used for, we track the percentage of a player's rock distance that's swept. Per shot, we break it down into thirds: 1/3, 2/3 full distance, or no sweeping, and a clean is generally not counted as sweeping.
So sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead. Yeah.
A lot of people might think, if your sweeping percentage is low, that means you're throwing really well, but that really isn't the case.
Well, your sweepers are there to help mitigate the error on both sides of a shot. Too much or not enough weight, for example, or line in that situation. So ideally, a thrower's sweep factor is somewhere between 30 and 50%, or when we mark all these numbers in different tenths, just for the sake of easier to identify. So somewhere between 3.0 and 5.0. Because if you're using your sweeper some, you're executing well. You don't want to be using them too much. You don't want to be using them too little, because you're starting to push the edges of your allowance for error.
Would you say that percentage is pretty consistent, being a good sweep percentage regardless of the type of shot, the hit or the draw?
Yeah, and it comes down to teams as well. How does your team as a group sweep stones? Because a lot of teams will tend to be on more stones, try and keep it clean, and a heavy sweep or a heavy clean is factored into it. I'd almost 30 to 50 is probably ideal. I certainly don't mind seeing a team who's even in the 40 to 60, 70 range, because one of the problems you get, especially at the elite level, is that players will tend to overthrow shots, and you should never overthrow a shot on ice like this with a good pair of sweepers. It's a case you got to use your sweepers and have, because they're there for you to make shots.
Yeah, some of the first time, nationals participants who maybe haven't thrown in arenas before, it can seem like a cavernous place when you're in the hack. I've thrown a few stones out here, not this particular event, but at other events, and it just seems bigger than your normal curling club, and you can get it in your mind that you have to throw it harder than you need to.
Yeah, the slide feels a little different on your feet.
Yep.
So, there's a little bit of a difference there. So, Croy here with a 3.9 on his sweep factor. Now, the thing is, though, the overall sweep factor isn't really a great stat. Where it really does start to be something that teams and coaches can look at is when you drill down and you look at draws, hits, in-turn draws, out-turn draws. Because if you start to see a sweep factor that's outside the normal range, you're going to see a player who's starting to miss at a certain point. Are they, if it's really high, they may be pinching their in-turn on hits. So now as a skip, if you see that trend continuing over a few games, you might think, maybe I should give this
Well, if you can.
this thrower
Right off if you can.
another inch of ice on those shots.
The question that I have for you about that is how fair is that to the thrower who has a skip who's maybe misreading ice?
Right here is fine.
Oh, this guy's misreading ice. You're not going to be executing very well in general. So, it's certainly a factor into everything, and it's all part of the bigger picture as well. When you talk about degree of difficulty, you can see Croy's degree of difficulty here of 1.4 is extremely low, especially for a third. But the Corbett team has been struggling.
Yeah.
So Croy's shots have not been very difficult. He's been throwing guards and pretty basic draws and open hits and stuff like that. Whereas when you look at Corbett's team, you're going to see a higher degree of difficulty on their shots because they've been getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's another way. It just tells a little bit more of a better story about the game if you're not actually able to sit there and watch it.
Control.
You see there, Derek Corbett at a 2.26.
Yeah.
That's out of 5. The degree of difficulty, 5.00. Rarely do we ever see it get close to that. Probably the highest I've ever seen a player throw in degree of difficulty was 3.5.
Wow.
And that was a skip whose team was making no shots for him. It was in a Grand Slam tiebreaker.
Oh, I thought it was on my last Wednesday night. No?
Grand Slam tiebreaker game about 5 or 6 years ago, and they managed to get the game to the last end. But because the skip was making everything.
Yeah.
But he was throwing runbacks and angles and doubles and triples on every shot.
Derek almost made a spectacular shot. Unfortunately, not quite enough roll.
Too much?
I think we could take a little lessons this week.
It was a nice hit. And the roll just needed about another, full rock. This leaves Craig Brown with a wide open hit.
Normal. Yeah.
Corbett had done a pretty good job managing the points stolen against category in his games thus far, but he's given up a total of 4 points via steal. Or actually, 4 points via steal this game.
Yep.
Hard.
I'd suggest steals are probably the most important.
Hard.
Steals against. Probably the most important stat as a team if you're looking to improve something in your game is the best correlation towards winning.
Right.
So teams who don't give up steals tend to win the most games. Period.
I don't want to give him any.
Doesn't matter how many deuces you give up. Doesn't matter how many to a point, obviously. Doesn't matter how many deuces you even score. As long as you're not giving up those steals, it's
Probably equivalent to like the turnover battle in a football game. You know, if you give up steals, you're just that much more likely to lose the game.
Because it's such a huge turning point and swing in the scoreboard. Even just a 1 point steal versus scoring one, that's a 2 point swing in the game right
Absolutely.
there, right? And to overcome that, it can be very difficult.
So if you're at home, you want to leave your skip, 2 ways to make points as many times as you can.
And maybe tone down that aggressive strategy when you have the hammer. If you're finding yourself giving up a lot of steals, try and play a little bit more of an open game. Throw those corner guards a little bit wider into the 12-foot. You'll see a lot of teams throw corner guards into the 8-foot so they can draw both ways around it. But it can take your draw path away to the center. So throw those corner guards into the 12-foot line a little bit wider, and then try and hang a couple points around the corner. If all else fails, you got a chance to still score your point. Great
Boy.
draw there.
That's about as good as you're going to get by Brandon.
So good, in fact, that Brown looks like he's ready to concede a point here. He's just going to draw down, try and sit on top of it, and make it really hard for Corbett to get to.
Freeze.
Freezing in the ice cube up here, the ice box. Is this what you're calling the gondola up here?
I don't know if we have a name for it yet. You wanna sponsor it? We can name it for you.
We'll call it the Curling Zone Ice Box.
There you go.
The booth up here is certainly it's indoors inside the arena, but it's definitely not any warmer than if they were sitting right down on the ice.
No,
so,
we've got a nice cross breeze going.
Just looking to see if this was just
We can't find the hole in the arena that's causing it, but it's amazing how much breeze we have through this indoor part of the arena.
yeah, send warm thoughts to Joe and Brian, everybody at home. Maybe even your warm winter coats while you're at it.
I don't know if you noticed, Brian tweeted a picture yesterday of him warming his cookies with
we kind of do.
the space heaters we've got
I
here.
was thinking if we just do a top
Even
12,
the
might
cookies
be
are
just as good,
frozen
but
here.
He's got a decent amount of button with the outturn, so.
The Carrie Benton cookie special.
That's right.
Go back where you were, Croy.
More?
Mr. Christie ain't got nothing
Little less
on
yet.
Carrie Benton.
If they got to sweep and bump it, it's no big deal.
Looking over here on sheet B, Corey Dropkin giving Brady Clark all he can handle
That
here.
last one was a bit heavy, huh?
3-0, and Corey's going to get a chance to guard a rock that's in the full 4-foot with his last stone. Brady's going to have some sort of draw for one, most likely.
Oh, you gotta wait.
Line's
Wait,
good.
guys.
Freeze, right on it.
Line of
Wait
line.
if you can. Wait, whoa, whoa,
Whoa.
whoa, off,
Whoa.
off. Freeze.
Just needs this to curl up a little bit more.
It's on the corner, but it's going to leave Brandon and out here. I think he's looking to play sort of a nose hit.
We get an overhead on this shot here. Just wondering if there, if he was willing to risk it, if there was a shot, if he threw it hard enough for three.
Nose or side.
If he
He'd
was
have
ever,
to hit the one at the top 12,
no.
drive it back.
Oh yeah, that top 12 one out counts.
Yeah.
The top yellow one. Yeah, I wasn't sure. You
I
couldn't
don't know
quite
if
tell
that's
if
possible.
Yeah, it's not there. If the top 12 one was not out counting the yellow one up there, you might have been able to hit a third of the red one that's corner frozen.
Shoot it across the house to get
And-
the one
and
on the side 12.
exactly, so-
Yeah. So this is Brandon's hammer looking to get two. Climb back into this a little.
Just needs a nose hit here.
Yep.
Looks like they like it.
Well done. And Brandon Corbett scores his two. He's going to trail Craig Brown 6-2 after 4. This is Brady Clark's hammer in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. He's drawing against 4 with his intern. This has got to go. Looking light, all 3 sweepers out there, but this looks like he's going to give up a steal of 4. Just too light. Maybe steal a 3. Likely steal a 4.
Pulled the string on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was his bread and butter a few years back. That intern draw, but he's done. They're shaking
Handshakes.
hands, so. Looks like it was a steal of 4.
4, yeah. 7-0 final.
So we'll turn our attention back to Brown Corbett.
Right off. Nice shot, Jared.
So first stone nicely on the center line. I think Brown's going to try the tick. So checking the scores around this sheet, you can see Myers up 3-2 over McCormick. Gemmel picked up 1 in the third. Now has a 5-2 lead over Mark Lupchuk.
Shooter.
Pustovar 3-0 over Schuster. Picked up another steal there. So Schuster,
Wow.
Look at that. That's about as good as you can make
Wow.
that tick shot there. Great shot by Alex Leichter.
As I was saying, Schuster getting all he can handle from the wily veteran, as we're kind of call him, Paul Pustovar. Schuster, the other men's team besides Craig Brown, that's 3-0.
It's good. 2. It's like lots. Right off. It's not lots. Nope. Good then. Good. You're good. You're good. Line's real good. Yep. Little finish. Little finish. Good.
Does that mean that Paul's supposed to sweep that, or it's just supposed to be swept a little? I'm not sure which. Maybe he's supposed to sweep it just a little. Yeah, well, I try. Here's the tick again.
Little groaner there.
Same. That's less. Yeah, a little less.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
So as we're coming up on the fifth end break, our guests are going to be Sarah and Taylor Anderson.
Hey.
Look at this. Another beauty. Sorry to interrupt you there, Joe, but look at this. Another gem.
Bravo.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Those are about as good as you're ever going to see. The Holman rink is envious of those.
You know what? I don't care what else a lead does. If he can just make that shot over and over and over again, you're setting your team up to, as we were talking about this discussion, not even 10 minutes ago, not giving up steals.
Yeah. You don't see this much as much as you would probably want to see at the club level, that tick shot. But I'm hoping that it kind of becomes part of the standard arsenal.
The problem is, and I do have some concerns about it, is that I think it's going to make the game a little bit too repetitive. Again, go back to the days of the no free guard zone where nobody's ever going to throw center guard again. Because if this was a tight game, Craig would be happy with the tick shot halfway across. Right. Doesn't even have to be made as good. Mm-hmm. And it takes all the offense out of the game. Like, essentially, this end is over now.
Right.
And I think it's something that will hurt the game in time, especially when Holman's team has been doing it for a long time. There aren't a lot of other women's teams that are able to execute it quite so well.
I have a solution for this. You want to hear?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So in the spirit of changing the game for the better,
It's over.
if a rock is in the free guard zone and it's within the 4 foot, you'd have to install 4 foot lines.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not allowed to tick a rock in the free guard zone, the first 4 rocks beyond the 8 foot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the discussion that has been going on.
Oh, really?
About it,
I just made that
in
up.
Canada already. About how you can't, you'd end up having to have some sort of device that you would measure that it couldn't be ticked out of the 8 foot box. So you'd create lines up the edge of the 8 foot.
Right.
The issue is you don't want to take the tick right out of the game. Other things that have been discussed is that you can't touch a guard.
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
No, I don't like that either, because it takes a skill out of the game, and players who've perfected it and started, it's part of their repertoire. Whereas if you make it that they can't tick the rocks out of the 8 foot, maybe you need to come up with some sort of a measuring device that sits across the tee line, and you shoot a little laser light down the sheet, so you don't have to install 8 foot lines in every club across the country. But those rocks as corner guards in the 8 foot are still at least usable. You can kind of work your way back to center. You can bury around those stones.
I also have a thought about installing extra lines around curling clubs. This might not necessarily have to be a club rule.
No.
And bowling has sort of professional rules versus what you would see at a general bowling center, and maybe the game needs to evolve in that way too.
And nose is the peel here. We're going to have a rock in play. I like this call here from Corbett. You could use that guard and draw around in the top of the 4 foot, but it's not a great guard. You're not going to be able to hide anything behind it. So what he's going to do is he's going to use that guard to set up a second guard that then hopefully Brown will be forced to peel the top, and then he'll be
Then
able
he can
to-
go around.
Then he can go around that
Yeah.
guard.
I like that call. So over in the split screen, you've got Gemmel, Lepchuk. Lepchuk's sitting back button with the hammer.
That looks
And
like
this is going to be the hammer coming up.
looks
Sorry.
like they threw it into the rings anyways.
Well, you know, that's not a bad spot since Craig's going to peel it anyway. Now you can make your guard on that.
Yep.
It's not a horrible result.
Yep.
At least it was well covered.
Hard. Shooter.
That's the one great thing about the placement of the Corbett guard on the previous stone. That really high yellow guard. That's when the team makes those corner those ticks on you and leaves those corner rocks up. You got to now start throwing those center guards really high. Make them harder to peel, and you might get a mistake like they did out of I believe it was Croy Nürnberger's shot. And you know, it's the kind of thing you don't want to hit it too thin, so you kind of edge the peel a little bit closer to the middle, and then next thing you know, your nose hit it. So
this is the hammer for Josh Barr over on sheet D. Coming down, needs to get a piece of the button. Doesn't get there. It's just going to take a single. He's going to trail Dean Gemmel 5-3 after 4. So Brandon Corbett looking to put a guard on that stone in the top 8 foot.
Gemmel and their shirt jerseys full of micro sponsors. I think there's some discussion points going on there with duct tape and micro sponsors, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about in the off season. You know, I think it's something where they need to maybe make an amendment to the rules that allow teams to do something like that to help fundraise themselves.
And we talked a little bit about that with Dean while he was up here. I think some of the points he made around, you know, trying to fund, particularly teams now that the high performance program has kind of taken some of the money out of the travel and other types of stipends teams used to get to come to nationals. Maybe have to open up the rules a little bit. I'm sure that that'll be a discussion at some point. I love the concept. It did make their jerseys look a little bit like an iPad for a while. I was ready to. I went up to Bill and I tried to poke him and have something open up, but nothing did. But, you know, I love the concept. It's different. One of the things that I liked about the sponsors that they did try to pick up, they weren't just sort of their local hometown ones. They actually kind of looked to this area for sponsors, and I think that was really smart.
And to be honest, for people to put $100 sponsorship down, it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a huge investment. It's not something that's going to, you know, cost a sponsor a lot, and you know, it's part of the fun of it. And you know, you put a little bit of work in. I think they were able to raise a pretty significant amount of money at the end of the day that'll cover all their costs and help them pay for this trip here. So.
Yep. So we're getting down to it. I'm going to turn the rest of this end over to Jerry. I'm going to get ready for our interview with the Anderson sisters. Be back in a bit.
5-6. Okay, line's good. Close. Line's good, Corbett. Right here, boys. No. Right here. Line's great. Line's great. Whoa. I got a minute. Yep.
So Brandon Corbett looking to bury around the top 8 redstone, using it as a center guard. Puts one right on the back of the button. Great shot there. Looks like he got fully buried around the top guard. Brown's going to have the opportunity to come down, follow it down.
Yeah, back line. Back line. They missed the guard by 6 inches at least.
Again, another shot here. Weight is very important. Looking for backline weight.
Stay with it. Whoa. Whoa. Nope. Nope.
It's a little hot here.
Nope. Never.
Stone looking a little closer to hack weight, and as you see there, you can see the difference between throwing backline and hack weight on that shot. It curled about 6 inches less than they were expecting, and sailed on by. Steal a one for Team Corbett here. Now 6-3 after 5 ends. We're going to go to our 5th end break special here. We've got Joe with a couple guests in studio.
Okay, so I'm here with Sarah and Taylor Anderson. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, and they're playing with the Christensen rink. Sarah, you've qualified for Worlds in 2 events so far. You know, juniors and mixed doubles. Tell us a little bit about your season so far.
It's definitely been busy with all the competitions we've been in, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've been enjoying the season, and especially with our junior team, and also playing with Corey on the mixed doubles, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So, and Taylor, you've been just as busy. You made the semifinals in mixed doubles and nearly set up an Anderson final.
Yeah.
How was that event, and would you play that again?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Scott and I talked about playing it again next year. We just thought it was a good experience, got a lot of draws in, and it would definitely be fun to play Sarah in the national championship next year. That
would be pretty cool. Some sibling rivalry taken to the next level. Are you excited about the possibility that maybe mixed doubles might be a part of an Olympic run?
Yeah, it's definitely a different type of game, but it's a lot of fun and different type of shots and skills. But I think it'd be good to be in an Olympic event.
Right. And you're both students, and so you have to keep up with your college studies. So tell me a little bit about what your career aspirations are, what you're going to school for.
Right now I'm in the nursing program at University of Minnesota, and it's definitely hard to keep up with studies, especially I brought homework to study for my exam tomorrow, but I'm just end up watching this curling and not even studying it at all. But my professors have been very flexible with me so far, so it's been good.
Well, that's good. And how about you?
I'm doing sports management at University of Minnesota, and it's definitely difficult, but the professors are accommodating and letting us make up exams when they're gone and stuff.
Great. Big Ten, huh?
Yeah.
That's great. So am I. Love it. So Sarah, tell me a little bit. You were asked to be the Olympic 6th this last cycle for Erica Brown. What has that meant to you?
It was definitely a very nice surprise to get a call from Erica. They're all very nice ladies, and I really enjoyed going to Latvia with them for Worlds a few years ago, and they've definitely been mentors to me with through my junior career, and they're really people that I like to look up to and learn from, and so them asking me to be their 6 was definitely a nice little honor they gave me.
Yeah, it's a really good experience for you, and now I think it's paying off. I mean, you guys are 3-1 right now in this event, and really rolling. And I think we should have you on a webcast coming up pretty soon. Do you know when it is? I don't know it off the top of my head.
We're playing on A next.
So. Oh, you're playing on A next, so not the next draw, but I think coming up pretty soon. So
maybe Tuesday afternoon, I think.
That's right. That makes sense. So hopefully we'll see you then. You continue to play well. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll keep watching.
Thanks.
Take care.
Well done there, Joe. Sarah and Taylor Anderson from the Christensen rink.
All right, so still waiting for the teams to come back after that 5th end.
How about we do a quick little update across all the sheets?
I love that idea. So Schuster took 1 in the 4th, and now trails Paul Pustovar 3-1. They're in the 5th end. Looks like Pustovar's got 2 rocks in the rings. Schuster looking to make some sort of play without the hammer. I'm not sure what the call here is, but we'll get to that in a second. Then,
I'd suggest that's a bit of an upset at this point.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
probably one of the favorites here to take the title.
Yeah, on the way up, Brian and I were talking about who would our picks be. I kind of picked John, just thinking he's had some points leader and looking pretty good right now. Then over on sheet B, Dropkin finished off Clark 7-0. We talked about that. Over on sheet D, they're covering up the scores. Gemmel had a lead last I looked, 5-3 is what it is. And over on sheet E, it's 6-3 McCormick over Myers after McCormick put up a 4 spot in the 4th end. So they're playing their 5th. A lot of the games are a little behind the one we're showing right now. It's back underway.
1, 2. Line's good for a 1. Better for a 2.
So down 6 after 3. Corbett's climbed back into this. Going to have to continue to be the thief.
Yep.
You can see between the differences in shooting percentages. You look at the front end stats, lead and second both throwing near perfect games, and it's been forcing Team Corbett into a total chase the entire match, and they haven't been able to keep up for the most part.
Yeah, and that really sort of induced a miss there by Craig, and that's what that allowed them to get their steal in the 5th.
No.
Went for that tick again, but this time not successful. They put it right through. It's going to give Corbett a chance to draw around, make a tight center guard. So I think it's sort of the formula now. You're going to have to throw the long guard and the short guard.
Nope.
Jared Whittish.
Lots of room. Wait until you can.
Slid out a little wide, it looks like. They're trying to work it back.
Oops, sorry, Paul. Right here. All right, that's fine.
It's tight, but not on the center line. Going to try to play that tick again. What's interesting about this line is if he misses the tick on the initial one, might tick the second one on the opposite side. He's being just about a rock's width apart.
I think this is a situation where you might choose not to throw the tick just because the double peel is pretty much lined up.
Yep.
I think with a 6-3 lead, though, this is as good an opportunity as any to kind of practice these shots as well.
Yep. It happened again. What a great tick. It spun back right off, almost off the border there. So Corbett's going to throw another center guard, long center guard.
One. Whoa. Nope. Just over. Just over. Just over. Losing our line. Just over. No, it's not. Got a curl. What? We're lining it up with this one. Can't double. We're winning. Fine. You're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he was talking about weight because he didn't want him close. Yeah, it was confusing. I see.
So double peel attempt here. Hit it a little on the high side. Roll your shooter away.
Whoa.
Jared Zezel here.
Yep.
Haven't seen Joe Zezel in the arena. Must not be here. We would normally see Joe pacing the sideboards. Must be at home. We'll have to have him check in with us via Twitter.
Got more.
Looking again with a single peel, try to get a long guard here.
Where are we?
But this looks kind of deep.
I don't know. We're not going deep. Whoa, whoa. Just off. Kind of right next to it.
Oh. Little miscommunication there. They might have been able to suck that around. Instead, it winds up side by side almost. Atlanta Curling Club checking in.
2/3.
Getting ready for their upcoming Bonspiel.
Although they're covering the all the good stats with that towel.
Yep.
That might have just been for effect, Jerry.
Some great photos coming in from around the country. People watching the coverage here.
1.
So double peels made.
1. Yep.
Of course, yeah, the Scotties going up in Canada. One of my good friends of mine, the Hastings team, curling for Ontario this year. Julie made a run back for the win
Nice.
in the game this afternoon. So great to see the Ontario team now sitting at 2-2. Team been together for 20 years.
Wow.
And finally making their breakthrough into the national stage.
That must be super exciting for them.
Yeah, they're a great group of friends. They've been curling together since well into juniors. A year or two off here and there, raising kids and family stuff. But if they've curled together. So pretty cool story.
So after the double peel, Corbett's forced to put up a single guard. Brown's just going to remove it. Croy makes no mistake here. Drives it clear across the building. Croy never at a loss for weight.
Again, a pretty wide open end here. Last end it was a mistake on a peel that gave Corbett the opportunity to steal one.
1's good. Yep.
Not making those mistakes thus far this end.
Oh.
I think this is good, smart play by the Brown team. You know, they're only up 3 points at this, at this juncture in the game. But, it's by playing this open style of game, they're going to use all 10 ends to win this game. But at no point will the game really be at risk.
Yeah, I think playing this style is sort of Craig's specialty. He's a very patient skip. And he's not afraid to use all the ends that are available in order to win, as long as he gets that win.
Yeah, I think sometimes you'll see that out of some younger, inexperienced skips. They'll try and get off the ice early, and they'll put up a few guards, and they'll put some rocks in play, and next thing you know, there's a steal of 1 or 2, and another steal, and the team who's trying to get back into the game, they're going to be going full bore on offense. So they're going to be trying to make these draws and good position shots. And so it can turn around pretty quickly with a miss or two and a well-played end by the team who's trailing. So it's hard to get much on the board here against a team playing like Brown.
Where is it? Wait if you can.
So Brandon forced with his first to throw a guard. Hopes of inducing some sort of mistake.
Really don't need anything. I think you're okay. Yeah. Sweet, guys. So nice, Brandon.
Leaves it high with give himself a chance at some sort of jam. But leaving it that high may give a chance for Craig to just draw around it. Try to set up a deuce. I think that's what the call here is. Tweet from Mopac Curling, finally awake and watching 2015 Nats from out west. Lots of fantasy curling going on. Apparently there's a fantasy curling league for this event.
Going out the side though, wide open.
So your stats are super important, Jerry, to somebody out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, I believe the fantasy curling started by Matt Gamboa, North Hollywood. He's got a couple new paper clubs or whatever he's going to call them going on. Hugs for Curling or something like that is one of them. Another one a little bit more risque, but I'm sure you can track it down on the internet if you really want to find it. But a great idea by them to help raise some funds for the new San Francisco building project as well.
Yeah. I think the future of curling is these new dedicated facilities that are sort of popping up across the country in heavily populated areas.
To be honest, coming from Canada, it's amazing to see how quickly they get built here.
Yeah.
You know, they go from vision to groundbreaking to completion. You know, in a lot of cases within even a year.
Yeah.
And you know, it's pretty amazing to see how things are just getting done here. And I think it all goes back to the 2002 Olympics, the evolution of the sport in this country. You know, the arena clubs starting up, and the idea of building membership and all that, and you know, not what are we 15 years later, 13 years later now, 13, 15 years later, and all these clubs are popping up. You know, the two in North Carolina,
Right.
Arizona, Indiana.
Yep.
Of course, San Francisco going up, Portland, Oregon.
New York City in a couple years.
New York City. The Nutmeg Club is probably one of the first ones to build over that time frame, and it's pretty amazing to see the growth of the sport here in the United States.
Checking in on the ice crew as they're fixing one of the sensor handles on the rocks.
I think the sensor handles are going to see an evolution as well over the next few years.
You know, talking a little bit, sorry, Jared, about the building going on across the country. You know, the model of sort of taking a warehouse, putting in some temporary ice, kind of making that your club. That's working out for a number of areas. I know Columbus has sort of used that model, and I could see that being something that continues. But the project in New York City and some other places across the country where it's sort of part of a bigger iceplex.
Yes.
I think that's the future because it exposes curling to people who wouldn't normally see it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Blank end here in the 6th. The stones peeled out. Yeah, that's a great point about how the game needs to grow in that respect, and it's about you know, the local club committees and organizations going to these towns and realizing when a new arena complex is going to be built and getting involved in it. So just a pause here. I think Joe has some messages to fire out. It's
definitely related. You know, in last year, 80 curlers from 28 clubs met to share ideas and information, celebrate their success, and plan for an exciting future for our rapidly growing sport at USA Curling's inaugural Members Assembly. In 2015, we hope to attract more than 100 curlers from clubs across the country to the second Members Assembly, which will be held in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So mark your calendars for the 3rd week of October. That's when that's going to happen.
Yep. How much?
So Anna Zezel checking in, letting us know that they're watching from home this year.
Yep. It's fine. That's fine.
So tick shot this time pushes the Corbett stone into the rings. Still not a bad result.
Yeah, I think under our system that should still be marked, I believe, a 3 or 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I think in this situation that makes sense. I might give it, if it were me scoring, if it was my scoring system, it would be a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, because it's early enough he can still play some offense.
And you look at that rock that's up there. You know, if this was the 10th end, you might be giving it a 3.
I agree.
In this situation, because you know, Brown has the hammer, he likes corner guards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that might even be a 5, to be honest.
Yeah, I like.
That's good. Right there.
I like that.
To be honest, this is why sometimes the stats and the shooting percentages are a little bit difficult to really do well, because there's a lot of these situational kind of things. And
It's not what Matt Gamboa wants to hear. He wants us to be definite. There's fantasy going on here, Jerry. You don't understand.
yeah, definitely. It's always.
How do you
There's
feel
always
to
a bit of an
be
issue with
the arbitrator of all things fantasy curling?
Well, I'm more than welcome to take bribes. Beers are an acceptable bribery, so just send your orders to the Kalamazoo bar here.
We were wondering yesterday. Everybody had a 78% percentage. We weren't sure what was going on there. Now I know. Every team gave you a beer.
So center guard is up. They ignored it, and they just hit the open stone. I think Craig was hoping to stay in the rings there. Instead, just rolled a little bit out.
Wait, only room. Wolf, you can. Three's okay. Got a curl. Yep, now. Right here. Good sweep. There we go. Nice shot. So nice. Yep.
So, house still pretty open here. Looking good for Craig. Corbett's got a center guard up, and also one on the top 12. Craig's looking to try to peel them both out. Sticks it, knocks out his own, but all the shots on the center line are all gone. So Corbett's going to have to reestablish again, center guard. This is looking a lot like last end.
Two. 1, 2.
Nope, let her go. No, don't finish. She's good how she is. There we go. Good.
Close. Yep.
So the center guard was replaced pretty well there. Now Brown going to make the peel.
Now watch this over here. Something's gonna hit.
Remove some more rocks from play.
Sorry when all that door peels.
Corbett Rink's getting a lot of center line guard practice. Checking in on Pustivar Schuster here. Probably the biggest difference in age between Skip and Vice. Chris Bond, former Rochester, New York curler. Curling, I believe, out on the West Coast.
Yeah, he's out of Seattle now. I believe another, is it Sam Gailey is on that team as well?
Oh, Hogstone. Oh, a little peel of shame action here. Not really anything to be shameful about. These are remnants of former peels.
Well, was this not the tick shot over here?
Oh, yeah, might have been in. Yeah, so
Brown's just happy to try and eliminate an end here.
Yep.
Again, same thing. Peel it off. Get a blank here. They could, same thing. They could try and draw around this, but that does bring a risk of a steal into play. Makes it go away. Looks like we're probably going to have a few more guards and peels here, but I fully expect to see another blank end put on the board here.
So center guard going up here now by Derek. Drifting. Oh, perfectly placed 3 center guard. Makes very little difference, however, for Craig Brown, who's going to look to remove this with another Corey Nurnberger special.
Clean.
Smoke coming off the back of this rock.
Yeah, Matt Rudig looking for, we got to drop our fantasy baseball team under the salary cap at some point in the near future. So. In the meantime, I think we're going to be heading to Vegas sometime at the end of March and take part in a fantasy draft out there.
Very nice.
We're talking about if we put up a guard over on the side there, somewhere where it might catch on the red if they try to peel it, and somewhere where they're likely to go around it or something like that. Maybe we can force the 1 here, then we take 2 steal. It'd be a little bit easier than steal. Whatever you guys think, but. I agree. So if we go like right here, right, and then like maybe they try to
peel it off this way.
Right.
And then you'll have to try and
like on that outside corner, but still. Yeah? There you go.
I'm just trying to make him throw that.
So Corbett trying to think ahead. What's the most likely miss here? There isn't much of a most likely miss, unfortunately, in my opinion, but he's going to try to induce some play towards that rock that's just outside the 12-foot in the free guard zone.
So higher is better again because the jam.
I understand the thought process. It's just he's in a tough way here.
Yeah, almost like if you want to edge that guard out, you're better off actually throwing kind of a quarter around the corner guard that's out there right now.
Yeah.
So kind of just tuck a corner so you kind of edge it out a little bit closer to the rings, and
maybe you get lucky and they hit off the one that's already there,
right?
And then you somehow come around.
And then you might
the one
be able
you
to
just
hang
threw.
one. Yeah, then you might be able to hang one off the edge of the 12-foot.
And all that discussion, this wound up too deep. It didn't really make a difference either way. But
so in this situation, rather than, this is a pretty smart call, I think. He's just going to draw into the rings, try and sit shot. The thing with trying to peel the guard, it's, if he's ever to nose hit it, then he's going to get forced into that blank.
Right, and so he wants to be in a position here where he's in the 4-foot. Going to force Corbett to play a hit and roll rather than the straight draw around, because if he were to play the straight draw, he wouldn't be shot.
Yeah, a little bit. Need help?
So he wants to keep this far enough away from that guard so that the hit and roll isn't so easy.
All the way.
Looks like this
Wants
stone
to be in the 4-foot.
Yeah, I think this stone curled a little bit more than he was hoping for. He wanted to sit side of the 4-foot around on the tee line. A good shot here from Brandon Corbett. He can roll under that corner guard.
I feel like making a hit and roll.
That's good, because that's the only shot you have. Brandon looking to bail out his team one more time here.
Yep. Hold down. Yep. Sweep. Yep.
real good.
I see. Said he was looking like he felt like making that.
Very well executed. The hit and roll under. He's going to get the force here at worst.
Yeah, that's the call here. What a great shot there. Bailing out his team. It's going to still likely be down by 4, but
Does that seem weight okay? I mean, because like, was it a little slower out there than down the middle? Okay.
still a good result.
Last shot here in the 7th end.
Line's good.
Craig Brown needs piece of the 4-foot to get his point.
Really? Pretty good.
Line's good. 4 foot.
Take a look.
Careful. Careful.
This thing's sailing. That looks good enough.
Oh, just enough.
One red.
So Brown gets his point, goes up 7-3 after 7. Volunteerism is the lifeblood of every successful curling club. USA Curling recognizes the importance of club-based volunteer efforts to the growth of the sport through the Volunteer of the Year Award. Nomination forms for the 4th Annual Volunteer of the Year Award will be available online soon. So taking a look across the scoreboards here, Pustovar has a 4-2 lead after 6 over John Schuster. Schuster was only able to get a single in the 6th. Pustovar has the hammer, and pretty good setup, it looks like, maybe to get 2. Over on sheet D, Gemmel has a 7-4 lead after Hlubchuk took 1 in the 6th. And over on sheet E, McCormick and Myers blanked the 5th end, so McCormick leads 6-3. With number of stones in the house for McCormick, looks like he's sitting 2 in the 4-foot with a Myers stone in the back 4-foot his 3rd shot.
The way you guys reacted, I thought it was going to stop right here. Good judge.
So Brown puts one in the top 4-foot again. Jared Whittish, mystery Rochester Curling Club member, going to be asked to throw a corner guard.
Line's real good. Just over 2.
Corbett has hammer again for the first time in a few ends.
Yep. Okay. That works. Good.
Yep. So out in the 12-foot area, that's a good corner guard. Craig is asking Alex to just throw this one away. It's the 8th end. Corbett's going to need 2 and then steal both in the 9th and 10th.
Corner.
Knowing this, Craig is trying to make this as simple as he possibly can. The complicated ends are the ones where Corbett scored, so Brownie's going to try to make this easy. Well, we have handshakes over on E. Myers I probably went for a double and must have wrecked, so gave up at least 2, and that's the end of that. Over on sheet E, Heath McCormick is going to improve his record to 2-2, and Ethan Myers is going to drop to 0-4. So that game is over. We've got 3 games left out here. Feature sheet.
Close. Yep.
Looking for the
Hard.
peel.
Hard.
Can you get the double peel?
Oh.
Just under. A good shot there by Jared Zezel, just missed.
I'd give it a go.
Yeah, Jared has had a pretty easy go of it so far in terms of having to throw a lot of peels. Down in front, please. Dogs rule. I'm telling you, man, pets are our #1 fans. They love the curling. They love the colors. Now, dogs are supposed to be colorblind, but I don't believe it because they love watching curling.
Rim, hold if you can. Just even. Just here. Right here. Gotta go. Yep, go then. Right here. That's real good. Nice shot, Paul.
So Paul's trying to line up these corner guards even. He does a good job. So gonna single peel again.
There's no double. I know.
Clean. Yep.
Jared must have had his parents bribe Jerry with a beer. He's shooting 100%. That's going to continue after that peel. Looking really strong here. The Brown rink just systematically taking rocks apart. It's got to be pretty frustrating for the Corbett rink not being able to get something going. So the final over there on sheet E was McCormick 8 and Myers 3.
Here if it's more.
Ended after 7.
No. You're okay.
Must have taken something more in the 7th because they X'd out the 7th end. So
We want them throwing double, like really flat double peels, right? Get a jam out of it. Yeah.
So Croy Nurnberger here.
Off.
Again, throwing smoke, looking to make a peel. Gets just enough
Okay.
to move it over, but not out of play. It's going to go down as a miss for Croy. Corbett has a chance to come under one of those corner guards. He's going to choose the one on the right-hand side.
Corner first. We like this? I like this, Brandon. Okay, I do too. Here we go. We can bury around that. Yeah, sure.
So over on sheet A, you're seeing Paul Pustovar and John Schuster. Ton of rocks in play over there. Schuster's throwing the Yellowstones. Looks like he's probably shot rock, with Pustovar sitting second and third. Pustovar has the hammer.
Yep.
Looks like Pustovar sitting second, third, fourth, maybe fifth.
Okay. Bury it, boy. Let it curl.
Surrounding that Schuster stone.
Let it curl.
Yep. Come on. Yep. Hard.
Doesn't matter. Go. Go on. Come on.
Hard.
Hard, boys.
Hard. Good. Whoa.
Oh, nice draw
Not dark.
in the feature matchup around that corner guard. So it's forcing Craig to try to throw a run back here, try to
Hard.
limit the
Zez, you
damage.
gotta roll. You gotta roll, Zez.
I'll peel it out instead, excuse me.
Good shot, Croy.
Opened up shot rock. So the question is, do you guard this stone? Do you come around the other corner? Do you hit shot stone and roll? Sit 2? What would you do here, Jerry?
I think you got to throw the corner guard up back again. Another option here too. You could freeze on the red stone that's shot top of the 4. They'll probably hit the open one. Then you could freeze again,
Little early.
and
Where?
maybe you get a chance to bring 3 into play.
Where?
Mm-hmm.
No.
The only problem is on this ice and with these stones,
Nope. Never
making the
touch.
perfect freeze
Line's all right if it's down.
is a tough thing to do because they're so you get a lot of life out of these stones.
As you can see, the Schuster stone is tracking in on sheet A. Looking to put one on top of the one they have already on the button area.
Should have half at least.
Oh, it's pretty good stone. Brian's going to give you a shot from the neighboring overhead in just a second. Give you an idea what's going on here.
I got just over half, Croy.
So, of course, we don't have mics on these players, so we just kind of have to
So there's the situation.
help guide you along. Schuster throwing the Yellowstone's lying shot. Looks like Pustovar is lying second and third right now. I'd like, to be honest right now, if I'm Pustovar, what we got left for rocks in that end?
Not many. Can't really see. I think this might be...
Last shot?
Oh, no. I think this is Pustovar's first stone.
Okay. So there is a chance to come down. If you could get to nose of that yellow stone and kind of just tap, tap, you may be able to, if you hit it hard enough, you may be able to make that yellow stone that's sitting, it looks like it's the one on the bottom of our screen here, it's side of the button. That one may stay there for and sit shot. So if you could ever come down and hit it with kind of a hack weight, get to nose.
I'm going to pop it through.
Yeah, you'd remove the back yellow at the same time.
Yes! What? Yes! Hard boys! Hard board! Hard!
Looking to get around this guard.
Hard! Whoa.
Just by.
Now the
Did they
question
hammer
is,
it too far now?
will it hold?
Oh, they had no choice to sweep it, but right on through.
All right, get through, Brandon.
Not enough ice.
Oh, a little too much. Didn't get the right angles there for Pustovar. Leaves Schuster sitting shot rock.
You know, in hindsight, with the lack of action in that
What?
shot, I think the call there
Yeah.
was the run back the yellow guard.
Yeah.
I think they really, that is probably what they should have done in that respect, because at a minimum, you make contact with the stones on the forefoot, the guard will be out of the should be out of the way, and you might be able to make something happen. Even if you just peeled that guard off, Schuster would only be lying one in the forefoot, and he'd have a couple options. He'd have to guard that one to score, or he'd likely have to protect it or tap it up and try and sit 2 or 3,
Right.
risking the chance that he may open something up and you can throw a hit on your last to eliminate stones.
John Schuster just called timeout.
Yeah, now here, if Schuster comes around, throws a little tap around that guard, he may be able to sit 2, maybe 3 right in that button area, and Pustovar's going to have a tough time not giving up even a 2 steal.
Yeah.
My stones are just quicker and you guys are used to
So, frozen there. Craig Brown sitting 2. The hammer's going to be coming here for Corbett.
I think the question is whether you try and blank this end, or you take your single.
Last one. Going that way. You knew it was good.
We gotta try to get 3, yeah.
Alright, firm. Make sure that red back up.
So the call here now is to play the blank here.
We gotta hit
We
like
gotta
quarter
blank.
stone.
We gotta try to take 3 next time.
Yeah. For half the stone would do it, probably.
Otherwise, we have to steal 2 somewhere in there. It's not gonna be easy. Firm weight.
So Brandon Corbett with his hammer looking to blank the end. Hit this rock pretty much anywhere on the high side with some weight. Should get it done.
Yep. Whoa, whoa. Clean. Yep. Whoa. Whoa. Nice shot, Brandon.
Gets them both moving. Out of the rings. And we'll
Blank
go blank
end.
end here in the 8th.
So with that, Brown's going to maintain a 7-3 lead going into the 9th, and Corbett will have the hammer. USA Curling provides brochures, club posters, and in-ice logos at no cost to all member clubs. Did you know that these materials can be ordered online for free at any time of the year? If you're looking for materials for the upcoming open houses you have or learn to curl sessions, contact Christy, Development Associate, for more information on how to order materials quickly and easily. So back to the Pustovar-Schuster game. John Schuster with his last stone of the end, without hammer. Playing the in off. Oh, pushes it out. What a great shot. Pustovar gonna have very little to look at here. Schuster sitting 3.
I was not a big fan of that shot, to be honest. It worked out pretty well at the end of the day, but I think if Pustovar comes down and just hits half a stone on that yellow, he's only going to give up a steal of 1 here. Had that red stone stayed in the 4-foot, I think it would have helped as more of a catcher. As you saw on Pustovar's first hit in the end, though, he didn't get a ton of curl on it, so it's possible that Schuster might not have been able to make a tap play around that tight guard. So
yep.
He might have been stuck with the in-off as his only option to lie 3. I think if Pustovar comes down, hits a quarter stone here, he should be able to remove both, at least 2 of the yellow counters there.
So Pustovar dangerously close to a guard out front. Sneaks it by. Hits, removes 1. Gives up a steal of 2, and this game is tied. So we'll check in on that as that winds down. Back to the feature here. Brandon Corbett looking to somehow get 3 this end.
Oh, have a look. Have a look.
First corner guard went up. Throw through. Second corner guard's up.
Nice one, Jared.
Now the peeling begins.
Again, in this situation, Brown just looking to go 1 for 1.
Yep.
Take a yellow stone with every shot he throws. If they're able to do that, they won't give up any more than 2 points in this end, and they'll be coming home with the hammer up 2 points.
Yep. This is what you call systematic curling here.
Yeah, you got to with the 4-point lead, you really can't get too greedy here. You just gotta, you may see the double peel option, you may see something like that at some point, but as long as you just take a single each time, you're going to be in great position to win.
1-0-1, 2.
So we'll leave the picture-in-picture up there of the home end of the Schuster-Pustovar game. Schuster was looking for some sort of center guard. It drifted well over the center line.
Good. Good. Nice, Paul.
Yep. Clean.
Well done. Zezel continuing the perfect peel play.
Go, again. Same. Even.
Want to even up these guards, leave no double peels.
Very nice.
Pretty well accomplished. I'm just going to play the single peel again here. Up to Croy's stones.
Clean.
Nicely done. Just another routine peel. So, round to Derek Corbett. Trying one more time to establish a corner guard. At some point, they're going to have to look to go around the one they have.
Yeah, you gotta go, yep. Even them out, boys. They're good, right here. All here.
Gemmel has a commanding lead now after 7 ends over on sheet D, 9-4. After picking up 2 in the 7th. They're in the 8th. Gemmel has one in the house, covered by Lubchuk Stone. Looks like Dean's in pretty much total control over there.
Yeah, they've played well so far this week. Starting out now 2-1 coming into this game, I believe. A win there, I'll get them to 3-1 and put them right smack dab in the middle of the playoff chase here.
Nice sweep.
Yeah, they definitely have played well. They have some games coming up against Clark, who's struggling so far. Then Brown, Pustovar, Dropkin, and Schuster. So that's their upcoming schedule.
Yeah, I think the entire field is looking for a couple of these teams to start putting together a couple wins against Brown. McCormick.
They lost earlier to McCormick.
McCormick does get the win today, though. He's now 2-2.
Yep.
Hard, boys, hard! Good sweep, guys.
So Corbett makes a nice draw around that guard. They chose Last Vice's Rocks to come in. And Brown looking to either peel or run it back.
Should be pretty good, huh?
Craig makes his way down. Looks like they're going to try to play like a control weight hit on the stone in the house. They probably can see a little piece of it.
It's a good spot here where maybe you slide a hair wide of the brim and you just kind of drop the shoulder.
Steer it back to the inside.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little more space here, yeah.
Center slide and then just dump it in.
Yeah. Some of us deliver that way consistently.
That's why it's sometimes difficult to play against guys at the club, because you can never follow them.
So this instead moves the guard out of the way, peels it out. I don't think this is going to sit in the back unless it gets a massive spin back. No, not quite. Not this time. So I think at this point you just have to split the house here. I don't think that, I know they'd love to somehow do better, but there's no way, I think, to do that here. You only got 2 rocks left. So the best you're going to get here is 2. I think splitting the house is all you can do.
Kind of surprised Craig played that shot on his first one. In that situation, put the berm in the middle of the stone, play the run back, and if you can make the double, great.
Mm-hmm.
Make them have to draw around your guard on the next one. The problem with the other shot too is the flash miss, where you miss everything. Corbett draws another one around, and 3 was in play.
Yeah.
If you play that run back, you're barring just missing it in the rings and leaving the guard in play, you're never going to give up a 3. So.
Right. Yeah, a little surprised at that call, but the end result was no different than just peeling it out anyway.
Yeah.
This had the makings of giving up 2 the second that Corbett got something sunk behind a guard. which, at this point, Brown is totally happy with.
Where is it? We're in the air on this side. What? Back line. No, I prefer that. Nice job, Brandon. That'll work.
Both teams have plenty of time on their clocks here, so. So we have handshakes over on sheet D. And Dean Gemmel's going to pick up his third victory. And over Holupchuk. Holupchuk is going to drop to 2-2. He has a game against Brown next. Could be a tough day for that rink. Brown playing just so solid right now.
What's your feature game coming up next?
That's a good question. Our feature game coming up next is going to be Sormanen versus Lank. Battle of two of the teams at the top of the leaderboard. Sormanen looking very, very strong.
Cameras everywhere. Multiple looks at probably the only game that has much of a battle left.
Both teams at our next draw are 3-1, just trailing Erica Brown in the standings. So Brandon Corbett looking to remove Craig Brownstone and remain in the rings. If he does, he'll get his 2.
I think he's just drawing for his second point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was shot rock. I must have been mistaken. So.
Well, you were doing some research.
Yeah. Well, and also Craig is standing in front of the stone I needed to see, so just assumed that he was shot.
They're not happy with this one.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Drop the sail. Drop the parachute, I guess is
that's
what it should be.
So picks up just 1, and it's going to be trailing by 3 coming home. Question is, will the Velcro come out?
Looks like it.
They're talking it
There
over.
it is.
No one wants to accept a handshake. Let's see. That's that, I think. Oh, we're going to keep playing. Oh, okay. All right.
The handshake fake out.
it's a new one. Yeah, just psych.
I think Jared Whittish went for the handshake, thinking they were, and then
somebody said, "No, wait a minute."
And then one of the Corbett brothers did it again afterwards. Nobody was there to shake
no,
his
wait
hands.
A minute.
Nobody was there to shake his hand.
That's right.
So he's like, "All right, we'll play."
Yeah. If you want to put it out there, if you don't want to shake, we'll just keep playing. Yeah. We recognize that you need consensus on both score of an end and handshakes, and never got to that story. And I guess with the few rocks remaining in the style of play, unfortunately yesterday, Corbett's had a chance to get 2. I believe it was in the 7th end, and looked like it was 2. Derek Corbett thought it was 2, but never confirmed it with Bill Stopera, the vice for Gemmel. Kicked the rock before they had a chance to decide, and it wound up that Corbett only took 1. And talked to Bill a little bit after the game, and Bill had said he thought he had said out loud for everyone to see, we're 2. And apparently Derek didn't hear it.
Or he heard 2 and
thought it was 2, and
yeah.
They just never sort of looked at each other, I guess. That was sort of the problem there. And
yeah. So
unfortunately, it wound up that Corbett kind of needed that point. They did go on a binge of steals and kind of got back into the game. And unfortunately for them, they ran out of chances there at the end of the game, and Gemmel wound up winning. I think it's a good learning experience, but you don't want to have to learn at this level.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough spot. You got to make sure you confirm both sides agree with it, and that was part of a game in juniors where the point was agreed to. Handshakes happened. All but the 2 stones that were left were removed.
Oh boy! Then the measurement
and then
device comes out.
Somebody decided, hey, maybe we should measure this after all.
Oh no! Oh, that's not good.
And lo and behold, it was the other way around. So hammer here.
Hammer coming out? Not coming.
Yet.
So next shot is going to be hammer here for Pustovar. Pustovar looks like he's shot stone. Trying to figure out how he can somehow snake another one in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's Pustovar's game, and that's probably the issue with last shot, last end. He's more of a draw player, touch player these days, and I think you're going to see him try and draw side of the button here. And it looks like he's probably going to have to throw a bit of a straight draw here, where he's going to have to maybe put a little bit of extra rotation.
I don't think that's what's happening at all here. I think he's trying to pick that yellow out for 4. I think that's
a lot of broom.
Oh, maybe not. I thought they had.
That may actually be a better, a more makeable shot though. If you just threw a hit weight down the pipe there, very unlikely you're going to give up a steal. But you may be able to get that pick. Here you're going to have to throw a bit of a straight draw through that hole, a little bit of extra rotation, and hope to spin.
Waiting for it to come off the guard. Is it ever going to get there?
No.
So we'll never find out. He gets his 1 in the 8th. That's not a bad result.
Got a couple teams out there with the new lightweight hardline curling brushes. I was talking to Schuster last night about it, and he thinks, I think his words were, they feel like we're almost cheating.
Really? That's how light it is, huh?
Yeah, he was talking about going back to the theory on how rocks curl, right? There's a Swedish theory where they talked about how scratch theory, where the front of the stone scratches the ice and the back of the stone grabs the scratch and makes it curl the way it does, because under curling theory, when they look at the way rocks move, they should actually be curling the other way.
Right.
And
anybody who's sort of like done that with like a glass on a table would see the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So what John was surmising about those stones and with those brushes is that he thinks that they scratch the pebble, similar to how the front of the stone would.
Right.
And because of that, especially on draws, they don't want to hit the stone early with those brushes because they feel it drags it out. So it hurts their line, and they found that when they throw draws with those brushes, it keeps it straighter, and they don't get the curl they need on those draws, which for sweeping on hits and any stones you need to control your line on, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So what they do is they find they need to control how they use them a little bit.
I saw a little of that in Blaine, actually. I noticed that there were a number of teams that maybe had a hairbrush and then one of those types of brushes.
Right. So they'll put the hairbrush in front of the stone.
Right.
So it's not necessarily scratching the ice and getting and creating that straightening effect, especially on draws.
Yep.
They like that brush to create the heat and drag it a bit, but on those draws they don't want to have that brush right on the stone. So it's pretty interesting to see how those brushes have sort of evolved the game a little bit, and you see how the teams are managing it. So huge weapon for throwing hits and all that stuff as well. And now they just manage who holds the broom, or who holds which broom. Right. When they need to sweep certain types of shots. So really good option there. Like one of the things with those brushes is there's a hard piece inside the brush that you can choose to remove or not use. So it's you could probably, you know, for that whole scratch theory idea, I think you want a harder brush that's going to do that. So you could probably run one brush without it and one brush with it, and then choose which one is directly in front of the stone versus not.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool story of those hardline guys out of Quebec, Canada. And
they were on that Dragon's Den show, right? It's
yeah,
sort of like
Dragon's
Shark
Den.
Tank.
Yeah, similar to Shark Tank down here, and it was, they got a deal from the Dragons, they're called, and you know, it was the kind of thing. It was pretty cool to see curling. We got handshakes here on Brown Corbett. They don't get that stone in the rings, and we're going to have a 7-4 final, it looks like.
So just one game left out on the ice. It's Pustovar and Schuster. Pustovar maintaining a 1-point lead after 8. They're in the 9th. Each have a little bit, just around 6 minutes left each. Plenty of time, as long as they don't get into super long discussions. I know John Schuster's already taken his time out, so.
You're talking about you can play an end pretty comfortably in 2 minutes in thinking time, especially when you get down to 1-point games, because you tend to, your moves tend to be pretty textbook. You know, there isn't a ton of thinking in situations like that. So, you know, as long as, you know, everybody makes their shots, the calls are pretty standard at the end of the day. 3 minutes is tons of time, I think, and I think both teams should be quite comfortable with their clocks.
Hey, Colin Huffman checking in. You can find that at Fake Colin Huffman. Make sure you follow him online. Spins this one right out. So it kind of looks to me like Schuster's hoping for the blank here. They're going to try to carry the hammer into the 10th, down 1.
I think Pustovar is pretty content to do the same thing.
Yep.
I think in this situation, up 1 without the hammer, playing the last end, you're about 57, 58% to win historically on the tour. So of course, down 1 without, you know, you're looking at the opposite, about 42, 43%.
Right.
So for Pustovar, he's sitting in the driver's seat right now. That rock in the back of the house there, in kind of that triangle behind the circles, that may come into play a little bit later on. Or I think if you're Pustovar, that might be a stone you want to try freezing to.
Yeah, the most ideal situation for Pustovar is to get the force.
Yeah. The other thing that can happen here is that, you know, I like taking a little bit of a risk here, the risk to give up 2 in exchange for a chance to steal, or to force a point or even get a steal.
Yeah. Well, there's the jam.
Ooh, now things are going to change here.
Yep, Schuster can go on the offense if he so chooses.
Yeah.
And instead of coming in the house, he's going to play a guard, it looks like.
I think he's just splitting the rings here.
Oh yeah, he's sorry. I'm sorry. Pointed out the way he does when he throws guards. So
I think the comment was something to the point of, I think we got to take it.
yeah,
Meaning we got to take the deuce now that we got the chance for it.
Tyler George looks like he's deep. Chris Bond trying to desperately get it out of the rings. I think he might have. It's close. I think he did. Pretty big mistake there by Tyler. This is going to allow Pustovar a chance to just hit and roll out. Listen, I've seen a lot of things, but we don't need to see this.
So we're going to play a hit on the stone in the back. Not sure if we did get an overhead on that second shot stone.
I'm pretty sure it's
out
out
of play. Yeah, it looks like it probably is. Schuster looking for the hit here. I think he'd almost be better to roll out in this situation.
So you can see in the upper left corner there, that rock does look like it's out of play.
Looks like it's well out.
Yep. Pustovar.
So now if you felt comfortable throwing a freeze here, like if you knew the line, you knew the weight, and you were pretty confident in being close to freeze into that back stone, I think that's a great risk opportunity to try and get the force. You know, you throw that freeze into that spot, and if you feel like it's, you know, as long as you're close and to it, you know, you set it up so it's hard for Schuster to get to.
Yep.
It's not a gimme blank. And then, you know, you might turn around and get the force. You know, you risk giving up a little bit of that advantage, that up one without, in exchange for trying to steal or get the force.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I think that's if you're comfortable with your weight right there, you could make that attempt with not a lot of risk. Schuster asked one question: is that touching? Tyler said no. Immediately he was out of the hack.
Fired it down.
Did not want to waste any time thinking about this, and he just chucked it down there. And now they both have over 4 minutes left for this final end. So,
and that's about what they give you on average for the entire game per end. So
yeah, they're in good shape.
And I believe both teams probably still have their timeouts remaining as well.
No, Schuster used his.
Schuster used one. Okay.
Yep.
Glad somebody was paying attention.
Every summer, junior curlers have the opportunity to beat the heat at junior camps across the country. Keep an eye out for more information on these camps in the coming months. It's a great way for juniors to tune up during the off-season while making connections with curlers from across the country. So Pustovar going into the rings. Doesn't need to steal. Just has to stop Schuster from getting two.
So since 2010-11, Paul Pustovar 4-4, up one without hammer, but only 1-3 this season. So they've struggled at getting the win here in this spot. Pustovar probably playing a heavier schedule this season with this young team in front of them, getting a few more games in on tour, and it just seems to be a spot they've had some issues with. Again, the overall tour averages, you're looking at about 57%, 58% advantage for being one up without the hammer here.
Well, corner guard drifts into the house. That's a cardinal sin, I think, in this situation.
It's certainly going to make it harder to get two, that's for sure. John Schuster 2-4 since 2010-11.
Rolls it just out of the rings.
Sorry, that's 3-6. 3-6 Schuster. 0-4 this season, actually. Down one with hammer. So not a good spot.
No one wants to win in this situation.
I'd like to thank Tuck for that shout out. Hashtag Melonhead. Is Tuck going to make an appearance here this week, or?
Not that I've heard of.
So he's been fired.
No, he retired. There was no firing.
I don't think so.
He retired and then wound up somehow calling junior nationals. I don't know how that works. It's sort of like double dipping in the retirement fund in New York State. Not sure how that works.
All right, so the corner guard up. Pustovar asking second to peel it off. So try and avoid the jam on the outside there, and sails on by.
So the earlier mistake around that corner guard now is been rectified with a flash. So again, neither team really want to take advantage of this situation.
Yeah. You know what, this season, Pustovar 1-3 in this situation.
1-3 in this situation, and Schuster 0-4. So
0-4.
something's got to give here.
Somebody's got to figure out how to get a win here.
Our luck, it'll be an extra.
And the luck for the fans at home.
Yeah.
A little bit of extra curling.
Absolutely. We've had bonus curling, I think, the last 3 draws.
So you talk about going behind the tee line as a cardinal sin generally in curling, but this is the situation where you're more important to bury than it is to be deep behind the tee line. And the more space you get between that guard and the one in the rings, the more difficult you make it to make that double as well, make the run back. So that's a great position for that stone. Would have liked to have been a little bit more buried, but
Pustovar's playing the freeze on it.
Yeah. The other bonus here too is by Pustovar hitting and staying in the back, it will give Schuster a stone in the back that he can freeze to or create a possible jam as well.
Yeah. We're looking for the straight freeze here. You're going to get a bump. And I think just gets it out of play. Brian's going to check for us. If you can swing another camera around. We've pretty much pointed every camera we have on this sheet. Yeah, unfortunately, we have rotten angle on this.
It still does the job and gives us a good visual of the sheet. You can certainly tell what's going on here. Matt Hamilton looking for the freeze on the back stone.
Kind of checks up on him.
Again, I think they're just waiting for the line. They might have just been playing a straight draw around that guard, I think, at the end of the day.
So calls for board weight here. Hit and roll back towards the center.
Again, should Pustovar make this, remove the yellow, they're really starting to collect a lot of red stones in there. It's getting a little busy in their rings, and Schuster can only sit there and be pretty happy about the way this end is playing out so far.
Kicks their own into the back 4. Sitting 3. But 2 of those rocks behind the tee line.
Suggests it's a pretty precarious 3 right now.
Looking for a nose tap. Tap this rock back to the back 8 foot somewhere. Schuster looking for a collection of red rocks that he can freeze to at some point. Weight looks real good here.
Really want to keep that in the 8-foot. Nice shot.
Nicely done. There's a hole you can see right through.
And I think for Pustovar, there is a hole, but I think he'd love to catch a piece of that redstone and take at least one of them with it. If he makes this perfect, he could make the double, the yellow and the red one directly behind it, and roll his shooter 3/4 buried behind the corner guard. Kind of take that away as well.
Yeah. This is Chris Bond.
Wants this to sit down.
The double, but does get himself mostly buried under that corner guard.
I mean, this gets a shot. If the rock's over here, whether you draw here or whatever, but yeah, you did it on the inside. It's not going out. So. Yeah.
So it looks like the call is for the freeze. Corner to the inside of that red stone.
Schuster has not led at any point during this game. Oh no, he has one. I'm sorry, at one point in the 7th end, after the 7th, he was no, just tied. So they had not led at all.
This is not a very good shot.
This is deep.
And the house comes down.
So what do you do here if you're Pustovar? You're sitting 4. Just top 4-foot here. Try to take away some of those freezes. Do you take out something in the back? Do you?
I don't like that. I think you almost need to freeze on your own. Put it on the tee line.
On your own, and on the right hand side of the 4-foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would essentially take those others in the back out of play.
To be honest, you may even want to throw this one away.
Yeah. Not a lot of, I mean,
because there's not a lot of places you can put this that
are great,
are really helpful.
Yeah.
And those places are few and far between, and it's pretty easy to leave it in a place that will only help Schuster. Yeah. You know, any shot here that comes top 8, a little short, that's a perfectly good guard for Schuster to use. He can make a little play off the one on the side of the 4-foot there. Anything deep, again, it creates an extra bit of wall in the back as well. So
I think you either want to be totally frozen or totally open.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why I wouldn't be adverse to just chucking this down the sheet and
yeah.
saying, okay, John, have at her. And that is not a good spot. Now Schuster can freeze to that. He can play the hit and roll. And now instead of an open hit on the yellow stone or an open play on the yellow stone, he's going to have to play short run back on it.
Yeah, some sort of half a stone kind of situation.
Yeah. So I know he was talking about he tapped that spot as he left. So I think he may have actually put it where he wanted it to, but
I think the only thing he's thinking is, you know, how do I eliminate a stone at the end?
Yeah, it does make it slightly tougher on Schuster to make a shot here. But if John can make something decent, Paul's going to have a tough shot in response.
The depth of that is interesting in that one that's sort of half buried around the corner guard. They have similar depth in the 8-foot. Should John not sit shot after this? Paul could come down in some way, kind of just cut off all the draws.
definitely need to get to the inside here.
All a nose, and
Still not the end of the world. It is sitting shot.
calling timeout. Or,
Yeah, timeout called.
yeah.
Pustovar with a minute 59 left on their clock, plus the 1 minute timeout now. They get that extra, I believe, 30 seconds or something for travel time as well. So the 1 minute timeout is yet to start running.
They, I don't believe, have a coach.
Yeah, I think for fairness, they give both, whether you have a coach or not, they still give you that travel time. Now the timeout is in.
I'd like to see somebody who feels that they could tell Paul what to do with his experience level. I'd like to meet that guy.
Throw the D-line at it. I mean,
You just figured you're gonna
no,
get
I
6
know,
inches.
but the move. I mean, at least you got to let him kick in there. On a straight line, you'd rather have him kick in than just draw off.
Yeah. Missed stuff for drawing even the only way we got the good spots.
So Pustovar, if he can get any kind of inside roll on this, he may just get the steal here too.
Yeah,
I don't think the jam in the back will matter if he rolls to a good spot.
right. He could sit 3 very easily here, even with a jam.
He's playing pretty good weight at this. Just needs a little bit of a... Oh, I think that's going to be...
That should be good enough.
Yeah, because the 3 stones in front of the rings all out count the back yellow, as do the
The 2 in
two
the back.
in the back. I think.
Sitting 5.
I don't think there's a quint anywhere in play.
No.
If you threw it hard enough, you could get a little. You could get all 5 of them moving. I think if you hit thin on the top one, caught on the top 8 stone there on the left-hand side as we're looking at it, redirected the back one back into the 2 reds, and maybe get some sort of.
Well, maybe they'll
round the house
recreate this
action.
house for you later, and you can throw that one. But
I'm not sure we can throw it hard enough. So Schuster just playing the little hit and roll here for a single. Try and take this to extra ends.
got it done.
And he did. Single point.
So some more bonus curling for you.
Schuster ties this up at 5. After 10 ends, we're going overtime here at the 2015 USA Curling Nationals in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
So you're going to join us hopefully at 4 o'clock for what I consider to be the game of the day. It's going to be Eileen Sormanen versus Patty Lank. Both teams 3-1 on the women's side. Looking to kind of keep pace with Erica Brown, who's leading the group, the only undefeated team at 4-0. So the team that wins this is going to keep pace, get a good chance at that either that 1 or 2 spot. 4 p.m.
And that page 1-2 spot as well is very important to any of the teams leading that points chase as well.
The worst you can get is 3rd.
Yeah,
so
you guarantee yourself at least a spot and a chance to go.
Yep.
And now it's just a matter of where the other team finishes and how it all ranks out at the end of the day. If anybody has any questions about this points chase, I've certainly got it all down pat, so you can always tweet at Joe. And
oh, you don't want to do that. Don't
ask
tweet at me.
Tweet at
I've got the list here, and I think I have an explanation. I still don't think I understand it completely.
Tweet at the, was it hashtag 2015 Nats?
2015 Nats. You can certainly give it a shot. I have all the stats here of the points, and
the other option is you can shoot a tweet at Curling Zone.
That's a much better option for you because you know the answers, and I don't.
A little shameless self-promotion there. But yeah, if you have any questions about the points process and where things sit and who needs to finish where, I've got a good idea of how that works with managing the whole order of merit point system overall as well.
And basically, on the men's side, John Schuster's leading the points battle. On the women's side, it's Nina Roth. If they win, they're in for sure. There's no doubt about it.
I believe based on the race and the men's side, there's 3 teams that if they win, they're in.
Yep, there'll be Schuster, McCormick, and Craig Brown.
Yeah, so...
and I think it's 2 on the women's side. It's Nina and Eileen, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the 2 high-performance teams have had very strong seasons on the World Curling Tour and have put down some performances to set themselves up for birth into the World Championships.
Yep, and so Nina Roth leading the points battle on the women's side is sitting at 2-2. If Eileen Sormanen were to lose, a lot of teams get real interested in what happens then.
Yeah, certainly. I know there's a bunch of teams in the field that are cheering for both of them to finish outside that top 3 so that they would then have a chance.
Yep.
I think it's been an interesting year on tour, and I think we've seen the U.S. teams have some pretty solid performances against some of the best teams in the world, and you know, I think it's a change in perspective that the teams down here need.
Yeah.
An outsider's point of view, you know, I deal with a lot of the teams across Canada and around the world, and to be honest, you know, their opinion of U.S. curling is not held in a very high regard, and we've seen that start to change a little bit this year. Heath McCormick's run to the semifinals in a Grand Slam event. He defeated some good teams along the way, including knocking off Glenn Howard in the quarterfinals. Howard was undefeated up to that point as well, so a big win there. And then you know, Brown is regularly qualified in the majority of the events he's played this year. And then on the women's side, you're seeing you saw Eileen and Nina both post some great performances at some of the women's Grand Slams as well. And Nina qualified and lost a C qualifier game at the women's Grand Slam event in Yorkton in December. So,
so I think, you know, what most U.S. curling fans are hoping for is for these high performance teams to gel on the ice, get some good results, and then kind of prove it here too. I think that's what they really want to see. You know, if a team like Schuster, who kind of worked outside the system and performs well here, and you know, travels out there, everybody's fine with that too. But they want to see, you know, this plan succeed.
I think the plan will succeed whether Schuster wins or McCormick or Brown win.
Right, I would agree with that, because it meant that everybody got out there and hit the tour hard.
By you know, the high performance teams being, you know, the funding and everything that comes with it, the training and everything, they're pushed to go out and tour more and play more. Thereby, the rest of the teams are now challenged to do the same thing to keep up.
Yep.
And Schuster made several trips to Canada this year to do the same thing and posted some strong results. He actually had a pretty big lead to start the year, and McCormick and Brown have kind of caught up to him at the end of the day. So
yeah,
it's, you know, it's I think it's something that's what needs to happen down here. It's you know, winning the national championship is important, but competing and ranking well against the rest of the world, I think, needs to be considered more important at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think, you know, the people who are sort of, you know, leading the counter argument might say that there's access issues at times for teams that get invited to some of those major events, but
the thing
you
about
have
the
to build
word,
yourself up to a point where you get invited to those events. I think that's the key, and it's not a year-to-year thing anymore. I think you're hopeful. I think that these teams, these high-performance teams, the majority of these players stick together long enough for it to matter.
Yeah, a couple of counterpoints to that, though, is that the invites to Grand Slams don't happen by accident.
Oh, absolutely.
You earn your way into those spots. The Grand Slam berths are earned based on the ranking on the Order of Merit. You know, I think the word invite is probably the wrong word for it at the end of the day. I know most people, that's really what it is. But, you know, those spots into the Grand Slams are earned by your ranking on the Order of Merit. So the more points you win, the more games you you win at the end of the day, the better chance you have of ranking high enough to get a spot into those Grand Slam events. So the key again is this world's berth is still going to be decided on the ice, and I think that's the critical part to the system.
Yeah.
Is that you go out and play and win, and you win and you win and you win, you'll be the team. There's nothing that will stop you from earning that spot on your own.
So Pustovar has a house I think is to his advantage. It's still pretty wide open. He has the hammer here in the 11th, just peeling stones out. There is a point at which John Schuster can just try to come around Pustovar stone that's just outside the center line. We're into the second vice rocks. So the question is now, does John decide to come around now? Does he put up one more guard? Looks like he's going to come around now. This is sort of what we've seen pretty consistently in this situation. Try to get there with your first stone rather than wait for your last. Trying to hear what John has to say here, but John Schuster looking to draw one around that one in the just outside the house there off the center line.
On this ice, that red rock is as good as any other guard out there, maybe even better. Look at this nice bury here. Want to get it as close to the button as possible.
Great shot there by John Schuster. Now, Pustovar has the run back.
The other thing that's a little bit not in Pustovar's favor is the fact that yellow stone on the outside there is a Schuster rock.
Doesn't look like it's a factor at the moment, but it could be.
Well, if he doesn't stick this,
yeah.
So Pustovar can't play this with nearly the same amount of freedom.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where you play the run back and you roll out in an empty house. You know, we could always play another.
Right. But that rock is biting out there on the top 12.
Isn't that kind of the origins of the name?
Well, we can get into that later, but this wasn't the type of house. So, Chris Bond holding the broom for Paul. Paul looking to make a short run back here. Set up. Possible point. Drives it over the top. Removes the guard. Now Schuster's going to have to. They get a timeout in the extra, and they're going to call it now.
Still tons of time on his clock as well. He's got 2:32 left. Just calling the timeout to stop the clock from running and make sure they have as much time as possible at the end of it. The question now is do you throw the guard or you throw the hit? And when you sit here and you talk about this, you really have to look at the opposition and say, what do I want to make him throw?
Right.
I'm going to suggest John's sitting here trying to find a way to force Pustovar into making that double.
Yeah, I think if you put one, it's just biting the 12-foot. You know, what other choice does he have?
We've seen a couple shots this game from when we tuned in. You know, he hasn't been quite on the mark with his hits thus far in this game.
I mean, he sort of has a draw to the button, I guess, but that rock.
I'd suggest the draw to the button is pretty makeable right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely there. That
Throw that
rock's out
outturned.
there, pretty far out there in the 8-foot. By the time it would get to there, it should be tracking pretty close to the button. So,
Although Pustovar shooting 68% on 9 draws this game, 64 on 12 hits. So,
well, they don't have access to your stats. They have to just kind of figure it out by feel.
on the other hand, Schuster 47% on his hits, 62% on his draws. So it's been a bit of a struggle in the back end in this match.
So I think they settled on trying to guard this up rather than play a tap. Well, maybe not. They tighten that up.
I think a great spot here would be split the center line, maybe a hair more of that stone on the left-hand side of the center line, top of the 8-foot.
That's
so
a good
it's
spot.
kind of a half guard, takes away some of the draw.
Takes away a good part of the hit and stick.
Yeah. If you showed 3/4 of that yellow stone on the outside, even better if you only showed half.
Yeah.
Then you force them into a little bit of a longer run back double. Looks like this thing is really curling early though.
Oh man.
This
This
isn't
might
going to
be
be
wide open here for
this isn't
Pustovar.
going to be good for much of anything.
Yep.
Final stone to come here.
Looking at this from the hack, there's no doubt in my mind that you can see all of this.
Not sure if that guard picked or if he just didn't quite get it out to the broom. Great view there in the top left-hand corner. You can see just all of that shot stone. Probably play a nice little hack to board weight here. Key is pick your weight. Don't be in between. Settle on exactly what you want to throw. Hit the stick and execute the shot. Again, Schuster does have the extra possible counter on the edge, so Pustovar has to hit and stay here. Sweeper's hard on this. Just get by the front.
And Pustovar picks up the victory. And boy, he's given the rest of the men's teams here some hope. Schuster can be beat. And that leaves Craig Brown as the only undefeated team left in the men's side. That drops Schuster to 3-1, and Pustovar picks up his second victory. And he is in a 5-way tie here in the standings with Corbett, Dropkin, Hlupchuk, and McCormick. Things tightening up a bit. The playoff picture still very unclear after the fourth draw of the men's side of this championships. Join us again at 4 p.m. Our feature game is going to be Eileen Stormingham versus Patty Lank. For Jerry Gertz, Brian Anderson, this is Joe Calabrese. We'll see you next time on usacurl.org.